And whereas parks are fundamental to the environmental sustainability of our community by providing places to connect with nature, enhance water quality, providing habitat for wildlife, and improving the air we breathe. And whereas our parks and recreation system is vitally important to the quality of life in Dunedin, providing opportunities for people to come together as a community, transforming strangers into neighbors, attracting new residents and businesses, and reducing crime. And whereas the benefits of parks and recreation services to our citizens and the calming effects of spending time in a park are even more apparent and critical during these unprecedented times. And whereas our parks and recreation programs have created countless stories of people's lives, whether it be providing a calm place of solitude for reflection or relaxation, a chance to take on a new challenge, or an opportunity to meet new people and form lifelong bonds. And whereas we observe Parks and Recreation Month, let us not forget the vital contribution of employees, volunteers, and community partners who keep our parks clean, safe, and accessible for all to enjoy. And now, therefore, I, Jeff Gow, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, Florida, and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of July 2021 as Parks and Recreation Month in Dunedin, and encourage everyone to share their parks and recreation story of that fond memory, family gathering, favorite place to exercise, relax, or connect with nature, or that special person who has changed your life, building a healthy and happy community. It starts in parks.
So before Vince starts with his side of the presentation, I wanted to just mention the significance of Vice Mayor Gow's reading of this proclamation, because his dad, right?
Yes.
Your dad was a Parks and Rec director or a person.
He was Dunedin's first director of Parks and Recreation.
So I think that's pretty special.
And just a quick backstory to that is because as a private resident in the city, he applied for a grant and received the funds of that grant and gave that money to the City of Dunedin to purchase Hammock Park, and that's how we got the park. So.
Wow.
And then they said, you got it, this park, now you've got to manage it. Here you go.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for reading that proclamation. And thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners, City Manager, for all of your support, financial support, and being engaged in our parks, events, and programs. And another comment for Vice Mayor, he's taken up a new passion, learning how to play pickleball.
Oh,
he's been out on Monday nights, and I think Monday and Friday nights now, on the Highlander courts. So that is actually great. So I also want to thank Greg Martin, our Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee Chair, and the whole committee for all their guidance that they give us throughout the year. I want to thank our volunteers, our partners, and our sponsors. But most of all, I want to thank all of our staff, and several of them are here this morning. We'll start with Nicole Allen, who handles our marketing. Lainey Sheets is our administration superintendent. Laura, and I want to get this right, Laura is a volunteer and is actually in our video this morning. McClellan, who has a child that's in our camps and also on our swim team. Butch Cole is a swimmer at our Highlander pool. So thank you for both for being here. Craig Wilson is our city arborist. Jory Peterson, special events. Elaine Schweinhardt is our coordinator for the Hale Center. Jocelyn Broadhead is our recreation superintendent. And I really had to drag Pete a little to come out. He doesn't like to do too much of this stuff. So Pete Wells is our park superintendent, or excuse me, our park supervisor, who takes care of all of our parks and sets up special events and tears down special events and sets up special events and so and
So
so on and
he
so
was
forth.
probably choking when we just added 44 acres to what he had to review, right?
He's actually very excited about it, right, Pete? So the theme this year, as in the proclamation, is telling our Parks and Recreation story. So in Parks and Recreation, July is our favorite month of the year, and this July we are really excited about our residents and visitors being able to share their Parks and Recreation stories and the impact that Parks and Recreation has made on their lives. So before we show the video, I did want to read a quote from our Parks and Recreation magazine. This is published through National Parks and Recreation every month. And the story in here is telling our Parks and Recreation story by Court Jones, who's the NRPA Manager of Strategic Communications. And this was in the July edition. And Court says, "Parks are the center of so many experiences and memories, moments that Parks and Recreation professionals help make happen. Our local parks are often our first experience in nature, our introduction to our favorite hobby or physical activity. There are places to gather with friends and family, spaces to celebrate life's special moments, spots of respite and healing, sites that connect us with essential community services, and much more. Local parks have been essential through the COVID-19 pandemic, with many people finding new appreciation for the essential spaces Parks and Recreation professionals manage and vital programs they provide. And for some, their local parks are quite literally one of the only places they can go to find peace and tranquility." So I wanted to start off by reading that from the article about telling our park story. And now we can, oh, one last thing before we do the video. Oh, we're going to do that after the video. So let's go ahead and play the video, and we have two members of our community here that have helped us out by telling their stories publicly. So. Oh, and Olivia, one of our Youth Advisory Committee, and she was also a camper, a CIT, and now she's a Youth Advisory Committee member. So with that, we can show our video.
What if trees could talk? What have they seen? What kind of stories would the trees tell? What if the playground could talk? What would they tell us of friendships built or challenges conquered? Or what about the water? Would it tell us of large family gatherings? Or when someone needed to be alone? Well, the trees and water can't speak to us, but you can.
I love Dunedin. I specifically love Dunedin Parks, and particular Hammock Park. I'm on the board for the Friends of the Hammock, and our mission is to fundraise in order to provide beautification and education within the park. Green spaces are vital, especially over the last year and a half when everybody's been locked up inside. This is the perfect place within the urban setting that we have here, and it feels like you're in the middle of natural old Florida here.
So I just loved the environment here, just like the people I'm around. It just makes me feel really good. I've gone to summer camp here since probably kindergarten, first grade. I was a CIT for about 3 or 4 years. I have probably like 500 hours, something like that, from being a CIT. So it benefits you just like now as the person you are, and it'll benefit you in the long run. Everyone is just so nice, and it's just such an amazing place to be involved in.
As you get older, you really have to fight for your health. I challenged myself last September 1st to swim 200 miles in 12 months, and I've been using all the beautiful facilities here in town to accomplish this, and it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. This pool right here, by the way, is a real gem for the Dunedin citizens.
chose the Dunedin Rec Center because I felt safe. I felt like my child was being included, and that, as a special needs mom, was very important, giving me a sense of peace of mind, knowing that when she comes to camp every day, she's having fun, she's being challenged, she's meeting new friends. I found my place, and it's not just a rec, it's a family.
Parks are places that create experiences and shape our lives. Visit our website to share that fond memory, favorite place for relaxation or rejuvenation, or that cherished recreational activity that affected you or a loved one. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, and thank you, Nicole. I just want to thank Lainey and Nicole and Craig for putting this video together this morning, and I was wondering if anybody could recognize the voice over of the video this morning. Thank you, Craig. That was Craig's voice, so if he's not an arborist any longer, you might have a career in the film industry. So, and again, I want to thank the residents who publicly told their stories for us, and that will help promote getting more stories through the month of July and also August. So Olivia, Butch, Laura are here. Hans was unable to make it this morning. So also I want to bring your attention to a story that Lainey and Nicole wrote that was published in the Dunedin Beacon, and it's Sharing Your Story, Parks and Recreation, our Parks and Recreation story. A very nice story about our parks and their thoughts on telling the community the story of our Parks and Recreation Department. So with that, I'm going to ask Lainey if she would just come up and let the commission and also the audience and anybody who else is watching talk about how you can get your story to us. And Lainey, if you can just say a few words about that.
Yes, good morning, Lainey Sheets, Administration Superintendent. So you have the short link up here for the community. It's to go to our website, which is dunedingov.com/mystory. And from there, they'll get to a landing page that gives them a form to fill out that they can tell us about what their story is, because we know there are thousands upon thousands of stories of how our Parks and Recreation system have affected the residents and the visitors to our community. We want to hear all of them, and we want to be able to then share those with others and hopefully inspire others to create new stories. We will have it on the main page also of the dunedingov.com. So if they just go to our website, they'll see a new story about sharing your story. And then also they can just, if they forget all of that, go to our Parks and Recreation page as well and find it there. If they're not tech savvy, they're also welcome to just drop it off at any of our centers at our departments and share what they have. We love pictures and videos as well. So if there's pictures and videos that people want to share, they can submit those online, or again, just bring them to us, the old-fashioned way. And we will also be sharing these stories and the information on how to submit other stories on our social media. And I want to, again, thank our volunteers for sharing their stories. I know that's not easy to get in front of a camera, but when we asked these three and Hans with the hammock, we're both more than willing to come up and share how much they have gotten out of participating in our programs and being in our facilities. And they inspired me. It was really heartfelt experience for myself to hear back the things that we do and how it affects others. So thank you.
Thank you, Lainey. And that is the end of our presentation.
Well, thank you, everybody. On behalf of the entire commission, we all appreciate everything that all of you do. I remember growing up here very fondly, and remember telling my husband when we were talking about having a child that this is where I wanted him to be raised. So And of course, he's a part of your department as well. So, so he's loved it just as much as I have. And so, anyway, thank you for
Mayor, I have to say this. I just wanted to add, I still remember one of my favorite stories was when Peg Cummings was still rec director, and the Hammock Day Camp, of course, which still goes on. It was at a time when Karen Seal, now Commissioner Seal with the County Commission, was Commissioner with Clearwater Commission, and her boys went to camp with us, not in Clearwater. And she sent a beautiful letter in about how fantastic our programs are. And Peg wanted to use it as a testimonial in the brochure that we put out. And so she wanted to call her because she figured, hey, this could get you in trouble with your own community if you put it in a Dunedin. And she said, no, I have no problem. You guys, you're the best at programming, and we still are. We continue to be. So when I look at that and I think about just all the kids' lives, all the kids and the seniors, I mean every age, but all the kids' lives. And I'm watching your face, and it's just it does make you cry. You've changed lives, really changed lives. This is where it happens. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
again.
guys. Appreciate it. Aw, so nice. Very good.
Butch, you mentioned Butch swimming in there.
Okay. So next on under presentations, we have the public art recognitions. So Elizabeth,
Jackie Nigro is.
Jackie, okay.
I'm not the new. Could never be. Anyway, good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and City staff. Jackie Nigro from the Arts and Culture Committee, and I'm pleased to tell you that the committee has sent me to tell you how pleased they are about this City Hall, and it's a tongue twister, City Hall Artist Gallery Program. There we go. Okay. And we started that in 2019. We're fortunate to have Mary Childs, not only a member of the Arts and Culture Committee, but she is a professional gallerist. And we have Elizabeth, that we spoke of just recently, who is our city's arts consultant. And together they work this program. And I also want to thank you, the Commission, for recognizing how fortunate this city is to have a commission that realizes the value of art to this city, its residents, and its visitors. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mary. Thank you, Jackie, and thank you, everyone, for having us here today and for being so supportive of the arts. We have with us today Nathan Beard, who is not only locally recognized but internationally recognized. Recently, Elizabeth and I facilitated his work being sent to San Salvador with the Arts and Culture, Arts and Embassies program. He's been published in many magazines. I think one of them is, I forget what the name of it was that Elizabeth wrote, but yeah. So he's really, really well known, and we're very fortunate to have him exhibiting here in the gallery. I think it's also important to understand that the artists that are exhibited here are not only recognized locally, but again, throughout the world and throughout the country. But Nathan can speak for himself. If you haven't had a chance to really look at his work, he has a number of YouTube videos, and feel free to check them out. Nathan?
Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you so much for having us today, and me especially, and for hosting my artwork, but the artwork of other artists as well. I would like to thank, obviously, Mary and Elizabeth for their advocacy. It's not easy building a career in the arts, and it is a whole lot easier with advocates like Mary and Elizabeth. Their passion and vision, as she mentioned, has propelled me out of this country. So I'm very grateful for that. It's very exciting, and it keeps the hard days easier and smoother. I want to thank the mayor, vice mayor, and all the commissioners for your advocacy of the arts in this community. When I think about why people want to live here or move here, I think every time you pass a bus stop that is interesting looking, or a giant dog mural, or a public sculpture, or perhaps you find your way out to the art center. I think these are really important parts of the community. Sometimes the impact of the arts is hard to measure because it's not so much about, well, we have quantified it, but it's more about the quality of life. And more to the point, the non-homogeneity of life. People can move here and know that they're living someplace special and interesting. My daughter, for example, has gone to counting all the oranges that she sees on the buildings. So that's just one example. And then I like to thank the city in general for their partnership with the Dunedin Fine Arts Center, where I work, by the way, with Catherine Bergman as assistant curator. And I'm just going to pull out a note that I've sort of lost count of how many guests we've had come to the Art Center. I always ask them where they're from, because if they're from out of town, I'll give them a special tour just on the fly, because I know the people that live here can come back if they want. But the people from out of town, I always ask them where they're from, and then I ask them, a lot of times they'll say, we're thinking about moving here, or we just moved here, and sometimes I'll ask them why. And the Art Center is always a big part of their consideration because of the classes that are there, the exhibitions, obviously. So thank you to the City of Dunedin for your partnership, and I know that it's a big building, and there's a lot of people that depend on the Art Center for not only their living, but for their mental and emotional health. So that's all I have to say. If you'd like to learn more about me, I have Instagram and Facebook and a website. It's all Nathan Beard Fine Art. So if you Google that, you'll find me out there. Thank you.
Nathan, I was so interested. Is that a Florida Arts and Culture ambassadorial? Is that under the Florida Arts and Cultural Committee? Your ambassadorial to?
Oh no, that's the United States Arts and Embassies program.
The United States?
It's an extremely prestigious program. Yeah, only a handful of artists get chosen every year. They have their own curatorial department that supplies artwork for every embassy and every ambassador's residence around the world, which of course is many. So yeah, it was an honor.
That's amazing. So that was an international. That is fabulous,
Yeah,
Nathan.
yeah,
and
really.
I do love your art.
And then I'm sorry that the parks folks left, because I had an interesting tie-in. I teach at the Art Center too. I have a Saturday morning class that's based on this series of work, and we start our class in Hammock Park. I utilize Hammock Park to teach my students how to see nature differently. So, thanks to the Parks Department for their maintenance and passion as well.
Well, Nathan is very well known, and he continues to continue to grow. I know you've also been shown a lot at the Creative Arts and Pinellas.
Creative Pinellas, yes.
Creative
Their annual Arts Annual is coming up. I won an emerging artist grant from Creative Pinellas in 2017. And then every year they invite us back for the Arts Annual. So that's a great show. Part of that program is a new program started last year called Beyond the Walls, which is a partnership with all of Pinellas County's hotels. And this is in a broader sense, a giant marketing push, of course, that ties arts and culture together with hotels, because obviously tourists are coming here for beaches and fishing and boating, but there's a whole other aspect to our community, which is arts and culture. So I am excited to say that this year my work will be in the Fenway.
Oh wow! Yay! That's wonderful.
So I know you all go there.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and we're very appreciative of allowing us to
Show your beautiful art.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. All right. All right. Now is the time for citizen input. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to any item that's not already on the agenda, please feel free to come forward.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners.
Welcome.
My name is Major Ted Morris, and I'm the Director of the Salvation Army. I live just across the border and just over Curlew Drive on 676 Samantha Drive. The reason I'm here today is to tell you a little bit about the Salvation Army, because I serve in North Pinellas, and so it covers, of course, the Dunedin area. Many people don't know that the Salvation Army is a church. And so my wife and I are the co-pastors of the Salvation Army Church in Clearwater, and we serve there. We're international. Our international mission statement, part of it says this. This is our mission is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in his name without discrimination. You know, the global pandemic has really done a number on all of us, hasn't it? And so it's threatened the stability of families in all of our communities, including Dunedin, and many have lived on the edge of poverty, and it's caused crisis for them. And as we return to a relatively normal lifestyle, there's those in our community that are having a struggle doing that. Well, we're poised to help them and to work with them, and we have the resources to do so. And among other things, we try to keep people in their homes, and that's our number one priority. And so doing so by helping people pay their rent, helping people pay the utilities are two things that we try to do for individuals in our communities. And for those who want to move actually from a poverty situation out of that, we have a program called Pathway of Hope, which is a prescriptive case management program where our caseworkers work directly with families to help them meet their own personal goals, to move them out of the cycle of intergenerational poverty. So there's widespread needs. And so if you sense widespread needs here in the Dunedin community, we are here to partner with you and to help you. And so don't hesitate to contact us at the Salvation Army. Just for the record, we're at 725-9777. We're here to support you as you try to make Dunedin an even better place to live and to serve and to work. Thank you very much for your time. God bless.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward and speak to any item that is not already on the agenda? Okay. We'll move on to consent agenda. We have several items. We have our advanced life support first responder agreement, and we have the second proposal for consulting services with Kimberly Horn for the South Douglas character overlay. Is there any item to be pulled?
I would like to pull the character overlay.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the advanced life support first responder agreement?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I'm going to go with Commissioner Tornga and Commissioner Franny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, and we'll come back to the Kimberly Horn second agreement, phase 2. Is there just questions that you have?
No, actually, I really sort of wanted an update because this has been, I mean, it was sort of delayed because of the pandemic, nobody's issue here. But now we're rapidly moving forward. We have 8 months under the zoning in progress. So I'm just sort of asking you where we are, how we're doing with both, with the consultancy and the ZIP.
Sure. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. George Kinney on behalf of the Community Development Department. So if this is actually a second phase to that contract with Kimberly Horn. The first phase was for an amount not to exceed $20,000 to basically develop a framework for implementing this overlay. This piece actually carries that home and will implement that overlay. Since we've had the zoning in progress doctrine in place, we've had a number of inquiries on the south side from a permitting standpoint. Some have been held, some have been released because they've met those criteria that were approved as part of that doctrine. So I think it's working well. We're a couple of weeks into the 240-day period. Kimberly Horn has assured me that they are poised and ready to begin as soon as this contract is authorized. And, we'll go ahead and get started. So if you have specific questions, Commissioner, I'm happy to answer them. But
I just wondered, because some people have asked me, but, for my recreation, I drive around and look at stuff just to drive you insane. But you know, there are things going in, and so I'm wondering, the zoning in progress date was, Nikki, the zoning in progress, George or Nikki, was?
The resolution is in the backup.
Yeah, I think I put it in.
It
I don't have it
is,
with me now.
I have it right here. 6th
sure
of
it was
May.
in
May. And so, you know, I thought it would be worth stating that, because people say, well, I thought you had a zoning in progress. Yes, we do. But some of those houses that are being built had gone through the process prior to
May 6th.
May 6th, and I thought that was worth reiterating.
You're correct. There are a few homes that were in the pipeline prior to the approval of that doctrine, and those are moving through the pipeline.
But they had already been approved, and they were ready to go, like
correct.
March or April.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I am totally in favor of this. It involves the south side. It also involves something that Jennifer brought up, which I thought was really smart, adjoining, you know, when you have 3 adjoining parcels, you know, that you don't build over those parcels. At this point, it's 18 feet, is that correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
And you can build a single family, that's allowed. You can also put on the same roof, you can put on, if it's strictly maintenance, you know, rehab, pool, you can still do that.
Yeah, and believe it or not, we're getting a few of those requests. So we had one home that was replaced, and they're coming in at under 18 feet, single story, certain type of architecture. I forget which one they chose, but so there are some folks coming in, and we are, just so the commission knows from a staff perspective, we are keeping a list of everything so that we can report that back out to you at some point in time.
Thank you very much, and I am quite willing to make a motion to approve this.
All right, let me see if there's any other questions. Any other questions for George?
No.
Can you tell us how many people have been put off? Or, you know, rough, I don't.
Put off?
Well, like, you know.
I would say less than a half a dozen there on the off list, and probably about the same number that have gone through
Okay.
at this point.
So, not a lot.
No.
Okay.
And most of them are, you know, they understand that there is a sunset here and that they will be able to do something, you know, in a short period of time.
Very good. Okay. Motion? Okay, Commissioner Kynes, can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and Commissioner Twonga. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you,
Motion
George.
passes
Thank you.
unanimously. All right, we'll move on to action items. We have the Resolution 2120 amending 0221, which repealed and replaced Resolution 92-14, establishing the Committee on Aging and authorizing the continuance of the committee on amended terms. Nikki, would you please read that by title only?
Resolution 21-20, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, authorizing the continuance of the Committee on Aging, amending Resolution 0221 to adjust quorum and alternate member requirements, and providing for an effective date. Mayor and Commissioners, this has been reading of Resolution 21-20 by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Twonga and Commissioner Kynes, thank you very much. Rebecca?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This is just a follow-up from the June 15th meeting, basically making a couple of changes to the Committee on Aging. The two things that really stand out are clarifying that alternate members may participate in the absence of a committee member, not just to establish a quorum. And that I'm just trying to make it uniform through all the committees so that they're all the same. And then also their quorum stated that 5 regular members should, and this change would make it 6 members. And that's all I have. If anybody have any questions?
I have one question, and we had a long discussion about this. And I think Rebecca is totally attacking this in the correct way. As they come up for their every 3-year continuance, they're not all in sync. Because, I mean, these have been from so many years. Because we had the same question on the Historic Preservation Advisory. If a member is not there, the alternate can take that member's place on, and if there's two alternates, on a rotating basis. And that, I guess, until we actually are able to tweak, then we should understand that that is a matter of policy. I mean, she's trying to tweak as quickly as she can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Rebecca? This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to this item, please feel free to do so. Okay, seeing or hearing none, I'll come back to the commission. Any final comments?
I was fully supportive, thank you.
Fully supported.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Vice Mayor Gao.
Aye.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Commissioner Kynes.
Aye.
Commissioner Tornga.
Aye.
Mayor Bajowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we have the Committee on Environmental Quality Annual Review. So I will turn that over to Natalie, and I see Jeremy, the chair of the CEQ, is here as well.
Thank you. Natalie Gass, Sustainability Program Coordinator for the city and the staff liaison for the Committee on Environmental Quality. Every year, all advisory committees go through a review process where they kind of review what they've accomplished in that past year, as well as the resolution to make sure they're staying up to date with what they should be doing. As part of that, the CEQ has come up with a list of items that they would like you to consider changing in the resolution. The last time the resolution was changed was in 1992. So I think they've come a long way, and some of these changes include changing the committee name to Committee on Environmental Quality and Sustainability, expanding committee duties and responsibilities to include advising the city on matters of sustainability, having the ability of the chairperson to coordinate with staff liaison and call and hold voluntary coordination meetings with other committees and boards on environmentally related issues, and finally, updating references to gender-neutral terms such as chairperson versus chairman.
Okay, any questions?
Not really.
I did have a kind of a question. I'm totally fine with what's being suggested, but I was wondering, the ability for the chairperson to coordinate with the staff liaison to call and hold coordination meetings with other committees and all of that stuff. Is that, Rebecca, I'm just looking for your opinion, not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but maybe that is more something for the rule sheet versus in the resolution, because you would then have to do that for if we're trying to do all the coordinated, having the committee abilities be very similar.
So you're talking like Resolution 1606
Yeah,
in general?
yes, because, I mean, they're already doing that, right? The chairperson is already, I mean, they already should be doing it anyway. The chairperson should be coordinating with the staff liaison if they want to have a meeting with another group or.
Right, it was just specifically defining those terms.
Right, so, but I mean, other committees have similar requests based on whatever they're doing. So my thing is maybe it's more of a policy thing that we put in our, what's the resolution number again?
1606. When we review
1606.
that, in the December meeting.
That,
make any
you know,
changes in it.
that they may coordinate or should coordinate at least with the staff liaison if they want other.
I think it's a great point.
Yeah, because it's just something that should be handled the same way.
Right, versus putting it on every single one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, because I've seen the issue with, our committee. So again, if it's almost like the alternate and it's a policy decision, I think it makes it more clear for a lot of the groups that are sort of grappling
Sure.
with that same issue.
So, anybody have any issue with that? Just that we add it to the rule
Yeah,
and
makes
regulation sheet. Is that all right with everybody?
That's why we bring it to you all, to get your direction, because you all make the parameters for each of the committees. And so if you'd like to see that as an option or be codified for all of them in that general resolution. Importantly, the coordination meetings are an invitation, so they don't actually incorporate into the duties and responsibilities of each of the respective committees that they attend every other committee that they're invited to, but it's a coordination, it's a voluntary meeting for those that are invited. And we can certainly do that across all 36 by doing it in the general resolution, if that's what the commission prefers.
I think it would just be simpler.
Yeah,
I like it.
you know.
And I do have a question, though, just on this. How does this correlate to the process? Because there's been a lot of crossover as far as having liaisons from one committee on another. And I'm wondering where that plays with something like this.
In terms of having staff liaisons
Yeah, right. So
connect?
if you had a member of the Stormwater Advisory attending the CEQ, I thought the intent was that would be to pass information back to the stormwater. So how does that correlate with this?
I think it's on more specific ideas. If something's coming in front of a committee or there's a discussion around something very specific, which, I mean, there's a lot of committees. There's a lot of opportunity for sustainability topics and environmental topics to come up at the Marine Advisory, at one of the Parks committees. And so CEQ members feel that if you're coordinating on efforts in a public and open manner, making sure sunshine laws are being met and everything like that, then you're allowing more expertise, and you're also just, you're bringing more brains together, basically, on a topic.
If I can interject too, I mean, there are specific committees, and I don't remember all, which ones are what, but that actually require or have in their resolution, their binding resolution, that say, there'll be a member of the CRA on the Marine Advisory Committee or the Finance Board, and I'm not saying that's exactly it, but, so there are ones that have very specific, predetermined, that are already there. What's happening here doesn't affect that at all. I just wanted to make sure you were clear on that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Mayor, there's one other issue that I talked to with Rebecca, and I think this is sort of important. There are certain committees that have in their structure language something about the ability to do specially called meetings, subcommittees, and that's not in all of them. And, I think in some ways, occasionally being able to do that, following everything through the Sunshine Law. I mean, you have to go to your liaison. The committee probably in toto has to say, we'd like to do a special meeting on a specific topic. You go to your liaison, she goes to Rebecca, you post it, it has to be recorded, you have to follow, and it's an open meeting. So how do we, because I can definitely see that sometimes some of these committees, and I know it's a lot more work for you, Rebecca, I totally get it, but sometimes, occasionally, there's a need for a subcommittee or a special meeting. So
Well, hang on, because I know we've had this issue recently in the last 6 or 8 months, and there was a concern, I think, with the Board of Finance, and there was a question as to why the Board of Finance could do it and other people couldn't. So I'll look at Jennifer and Nikki.
I'm not aware of the Board of Finance.
I just remember a whole conversation.
In their actual resolution specifically states that they are able to have specific subcommittees.
But they are totally different. They are a charter.
They're a charter committee.
So it wouldn't even be-
So, and that's different, but there was an issue, there is an issue, I know. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, I would much prefer to look at that on a case-by-case basis, just because every one of our 32 committees being allowed to convene subcommittees, I mean, that's going to be a lot for us.
I totally understand.
And the, Board of Finance is a board, as elaborated in the charter as well. So I'd much rather look at it on a case-by-case basis, if that's all right.
And that's fine, and Arts and Culture also is allowed to do that, because they have to go through the vetting process for art. Totally get
So,
it.
as envisioned in the Public Art Master
As-
Plan, which is
yes.
approved by the City Commission.
Right, and I totally get that and agree with that. I'm just saying that occasionally there may really come forward, and what you want us to do is go to you through the liaison and say they're requesting this special committee?
Well, from what I'm hearing is that we need to amend 1602 in December when it comes to you to allow for, the chairperson to work with the liaison to convene with another committee on a specific item.
Well, I'm talking more about us, if there is a real need on one topic to call a special meeting, we go to the liaison comes to you as a one-on-one, and then if it is decided that yes, indeed, this would, has the tenets of being able to have a special meeting, then you agree, and then it goes throughout the sunshine process.
Yes. Yeah,
Is that
could
correct?
happen.
Okay.
Yes, that could happen, yeah.
I'd like to make a comment to that because the boards are very specific. Of course, the Board of Finance is directed to have the two subcommittees, and there's chairpersons for those. We have other committees that really are advising and pretty much are running with what's happening, what's currently happening, and so for us to, I think it's some of our responsibility to listen to what their recommendations are, because they're just making recommendations, and they do that. That's why they submit minutes, and that's what we review. We either some of us go to the meetings, or we look at the minutes, and when we can spot things that are happening. And of course, so it's not just staff, it's commission as well. And I think if we want something, we would like to have them look at something, or we see something, they can make that as a recommendation. We could request that, or staff could request that. Therefore, then we're all in, and we understand what's happening with all of the committees, rather than having committees all of a sudden out there doing all kinds of things. Who knows what? And they're all great people. They're just thinking, well, this is maybe what I'm supposed to be doing. And now they get caught in this, a whole bunch of more stuff happening. Now they can't talk to this person because they were on this committee with this, and they don't like that. The residents certainly don't like the sunshine. They understand it. But now when they get into things that they love, so CEQ meeting with Hammock Park, boom, now they suddenly can't even talk about it to each other, because now they just had a meeting together, and many of them don't like that. So I would leave it rather timid from the standpoint of them being able to do something like that. Let us recommend that, and then we can decide, I think, whether we want to follow that recommendation. That is most of the committee's responsibility, is to make recommendations and advice.
And decided on case by case, which you're saying, for really special circumstances where, because of the sunshine, it's become very difficult to contain one piece of of an issue in one meeting a month. That's where it gets difficult. So I agree with case by case. I think John, you're saying case by case.
If they want to make that recommendation, they can bring it. We can either bring it, or the staff can bring it. Staff can bring it to us saying they want the commission to do this, or staff can say they want staff to do this, and we can hear this, and then that's case by case, yes.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what's been said. This in one of our workshops at some point in the future, I don't know if it'd be strategic planning or something. Maybe not this kind of workshop, strategic planning. We just might want to talk about all the how it's going and have that conversation with staff. I think I'm the only one up here who's been both a member of a committee as a citizen and have been a staff liaison of committees. And I know from a staff perspective, you are working your butt off to be the best liaison you possibly can, but you have a lot of other jobs to do too. And so I think as much as staff and commission and the citizen committees, kind of work together and make sure there's not a lot of extra stuff that maybe doesn't need to kind of make life difficult, the better. And that may just be a discussion between liaisons and the commission at some point in some type of setting that's informal. I just want to make sure we're being efficient and good with our time. It's one of the most valuable things that we do as a city, all of our volunteer boards and committees. But, we also, I've seen some things where, maybe both sides are a little frustrated at times, and I just want to make sure we're doing our part, quite honestly, doing our part to make sure things are clear and people know what their roles are, and that will help staff, and that will help citizens, and that will help us. So I just think there may be a bigger discussion in a workshop setting.
Just to follow up on that just a little bit, on August 5th, Jennifer and I have been working a quarterly staff liaison meeting. So it's partially do some training, and not necessarily training, but just reviewing, maybe Robert's rules, maybe the sunshine, and then also discussion between all of the staff liaisons, so that we can all sit and see where certain staff liaisons may be struggling, another one might have a great solution that how they've handled that problem. So that'll be a quarterly meeting.
That's excellent.
That was Rebecca's idea.
Good idea,
Jennifer and I have been
Rebecca.
working on it together and trying to get
Why
that
we
together.
love her.
Trying to work that so that the staff liaisons have support. Because if I've seen something in my short time here, I feel like that's definitely something that we can definitely approve on from the clerk's office and just as a whole, and just work as a team. And
it's a lot. I mean, I can look at you and I know, I experienced it, I lived it. It's a lot sometimes. You're trying to really be the best liaison, but it can be a lot. So I think that's a great idea, fantastic idea. And anything that you need to tell us to make the process more efficient, I think, we need to hear that, and we need to be ready to back you up, because it is a great program, and we don't want any side to feel frustrated.
And Mayor, if I can.
Sure.
Just because we've been talking about 2B for quite some time, and we just kind of blew by 1 and 2A just because they seem so obvious. I just didn't want to just blow by them. And if you read the original ordinance on what their job responsibilities were, why it was formed, that those job duties have far exceeded today what the original intention were. And so the committee is doing some amazing work. And the idea of just to add and sustainability onto that committee, absolutely it needs to be done. Advising the city on all matters of sustainability, absolutely, that goes with the title change and actually the work that they've already been doing. So none of this is adding to their job description. It's kind of just bringing their job description up to date.
Right.
And so just wanted to give a real positive shout out to the CEQ and on the job that they're doing and their value and importance to the community.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
because you attend a lot and really.
Oh, it's a wonderful committee.
Yes, as a
Yeah.
commissioner, and we thank you too for your interest in.
Well, thank you. But
So,
if-
Mayor, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have a question. If we add sustainability, is it now CEQs? Is that what we're going to, CEQs?
Yeah.
I think so.
CEQs.
I think so.
Cusa.
Okay. Anyone from the public wish to come forward and speak to this item?
Yes, the identification of information silos was very, very apparent in the first 5 minutes of putting 10 people from different committees in the same room together virtually. So I think it's a best practice, which Clifford, I really appreciate everyone's support. The committee struggled with a lot of this and just getting through the minutia of the minutia, and well, are we going to be able to see this before the final version is done? But I really appreciate all the positive feedback and supports. And to your point, yeah, put it 1606. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
I don't think we need a motion today, Mayor. I just need direction to prepare your resolution. So, and I have direction to go ahead and prepare the changes to 1 and 2A and to prepare the changes to 2B to go in 1606 in December. So that's all we needed from you today. You'll get a resolution, just like you just did on the Committee on Aging. You'll get a similar resolution that continues the committee in existence and incorporates the changes you just discussed.
Okay, well, what I heard Jennifer say was that we were going to wait until we made our changes in December.
To 1606 for 2B, not to 1 and 2A.
No, I understand.
Those will come back before you.
Is there a reason why we're waiting and not doing it now, or just for efficiency?
1606, you mean? We can do it now if you'd like. I mean, we typically do it in December, but now it's fine.
I mean, we're already doing this anyway, right?
Is that the update on all of the rules and procedures, though?
Yeah, we do it annually.
I mean, people can still do it now, just.
Well, they're doing it anyway.
That's what I mean, so.
Yeah, we're
but why
doing
not
it
just-
And I just want to clarify too, because there was something said about sunshine law applies to members of the same committee. So any committee can talk to other committee members.
Other committees, yes, or other committee members, so
Until you
yes.
become a committee together, until you're meeting.
You're not meeting, no, holding a coordination meeting together is not becoming a committee together. You're still appointed to one committee, and the committee that you're appointed to is where the Sunshine Law applies. So 2 or more members of the same committee cannot discuss a matter that may come before them for a vote. But discussing with other members of other committees, even if you hold a coordination meeting, does not put those committee members on the same committee. Does that make sense?
And you have a vote, and then they would vote.
It's not creating a new committee of coordination committees, that now all committee members are all on one committee because they may meet together from time to time. There are still 30 or so separate committees, and just because it's the same as when the city commission meets with the Board of County Commissioners to discuss something. There's a way under Florida statutes to do that jointly under the Sunshine, and particularly because typically the city must meet within its own jurisdiction. But if you go meet at Pinellas County, you can do that. You're not now on the BOCC. Does that make sense?
You're 2 different jurisdictions.
Still 2 different, even if you do these coordination meetings, they're still different committees. They're not putting them on the same committee. Coordination meetings are not, they don't have any duties or responsibilities to vote together on anything. Then they would take that information back to their own respective committees and discuss what they want to do about it and vote on it. But the Sunshine Law applies to communications between 2 or more members of the same committee.
On things that will come before them.
Reasonably foreseeable to come before them for a vote, yes.
You know, I did notice you went out and talked to one of the, maybe CEQ on Sunshine? Is that who you went out and gave a little?
And all the board chairs, and then I think I've done a subsequent training for staff. Yes, we've done staff, we've done board chairs, and then we were requested to do a specific training for CEQ on Sunshine.
Well, actually, I think the historic preservation could really use you too, because there's been so many questions, because it can get real intertwined with.
We now have a video training, right?
There's a video training, and also, and that was also, so. But I'm not going to do it separately for 30 different committees. If we want to do an all advisory committee training, we've done that. And like
Didn't
Rebecca
we just do
mentioned-
that, but we missed it? The advisory, remember, we had something.
Oh, yeah, we did. You're right. We did boards and chairs. We did all advisory committees. We did CEQ specifically, and they're all recorded.
And it's recorded.
Okay, so maybe I just need to get that and say, and that might be the thing of a special meeting, that we watch that. You know?
A point of order. So if I'm on a board and I go to another committee and there's another board member from my same board that's in that meeting, watching that same meeting, or is in that meeting with me, what are my requirements as it relates to Sunshine?
You cannot communicate with your fellow board member on any matter that may come before you for a vote.
Correct. So we're getting into a little, in my opinion, we're getting into a little bit of quicksand here. A little bit, that's my opinion. You asked me, so I'm just responding.
No, the statement was made that committee members were apprehensive about being able to communicate with members of other committees outside of their meetings. And I said, that's not how the Sunshine applies to 2 or more members of the same committee. Doesn't matter what room you're sitting in. 2 or more members of the same committee can't communicate on a matter that's foreseeable to come before them for a vote.
So that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they would be doing in this case. They would be sitting in that room and doing.
They're talking about hosting a coordination meeting that would be in the Sunshine. So that would not be a Sunshine Law violation if you're hosting a joint meeting that's held in the Sunshine. That's what they're talking about doing.
Then you go back to your own meeting.
To take any votes, right.
And now you're going to take a vote, and yet you were in that meeting talking with.
Which was in the Sunshine. That's what they're talking about. Is it a burden on staff to now have staff have to do these coordination meetings because the Sunshine Law would have to be followed in those coordination meetings?
Okay.
So you're still following the Sunshine Law because there will be 2 or more members of the same committee that may go back to your point. So that's what this whole discussion has been about, was that staff would have to meet. That coordination meeting would be in the Sunshine. So when you meet the requirements of the Sunshine Law, there's not a Sunshine Law violation. The issue happens when you have those discussions and reasonable notice hasn't been given, the public hasn't been given a right to attend, and minutes haven't been taken. They're saying for these coordination meetings to happen, those things would have to happen. So what the mayor was asking was, is this a burden on the clerk? Is this a burden on staff? How should we do it? And that's why my direction that I understand is to bring it back to the
standard procedures for all boards and committees so that they can ask you if they want to have a coordination meeting, because that is going to be an additional sunshine law meeting to be coordinated. But I thought I heard you say there are members that were concerned if I'm on the CEQ and I have a friend on the Hammock Advisory Committee, can I individually talk to that individual member? And I was explaining
We do that all the time.
the sunshine law applies to members of the same board and
I'm
committee.
talking about getting this coordination, having this meeting.
That will meet the sunshine.
And now they have this meeting. Now when they come back, they really shouldn't be talking to those people again. That's where one of the questions.
No, they're not. You're not creating a new, that's where I think the disconnect is. You are you have this coordination meeting, which is in the sunshine. You now go back to their respective monthly meetings to vote and take action. They're still not on the other committee that they met with in the sunshine.
You're going
So-
back to your.
Okay, guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask for the two of you to talk about this offline.
That sounds like a great.
Because I think we all have a pretty good
Good plan.
we have a pretty good understanding. I think there's just a miscommunication, and I hear it, but I could spend 10 minutes trying to explain it. So
No, that's fine. I
We'll
think
just
that's a
move
great
on and,
solution.
okay, but because this is under an action item, I do
You
want
can
to.
go ahead and take vote on the direction if you'd like.
Yes,
I
would
just
like that.
didn't want to saddle any member of any committee, and I just need them to make sure that they understand it. That's all. That's all.
Yep. Okay, so I would like to have a motion to move forward with item A and B to be created a resolution, or updated our resolution, and as well as item C to be added to 16, what is it?
1606.
1606. Can I have a motion in that, with that direction?
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor and Commissioner Kynes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. All right, now we have amendment number 1 to the new City Hall construction contract with Manhattan. Jorge.
Morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. The item before you today is the amendment number 1 to the City Hall construction contract with Manhattan. If you recall, back on the 31st of March, the city awarded the contract to Manhattan Construction Company for the new City Hall project in the amount of $20,009,885. This item is actually a housekeeping requirement. As a part of that award back on the 31st of March, the project budget included a $750,000 contingency item, and then subsequently when Les Tyler brought before you the financing package for the City Hall project, it also included that $750,000. Unfortunately, when the contract was advertised, the contingency line item was not included in the actual contract, so this amendment, which was actually prepared by Fred Springer with BMO's Tallahassee office and has been subsequently approved as to form by Nikki, is the contractual mechanism by basically embedding that $750,000 contingency into the contract should we need it. The articles of the amendment and the language therein essentially provides for the inclusion of that contingency allowance in the contract. It's a mechanism by which, if there's any unforeseen conditions that occur during the course of construction, or should the city decide to add something to the project that wasn't originally included in the bid, we can do so. It creates a line item in the subsequent pay applications that the contractor will submit during the course of construction that then are decremented against that allowance, and any funds that are not consumed then return back to the city. None of the work, this doesn't provide a line item lump sum where the contractor's entitled to $750,000. Any work that's authorized within that contingency has to be approved by the city in advance. And that's how the contract then allows the mechanism, should there be the need to use any of those funds, we have a contractual mechanism by which to compensate the contractor. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to elaborate.
For the benefit of the commission, will you just advise what the percentage of that contingency is to the project?
I haven't done the math, but it's $750,000 out of a $20 million contract. So it's not, I think it was less than 5%, if I recall.
Gotcha.
And as I indicated, it was part of the approval process when the contract was awarded to Manhattan at the time. If you recall, Les Tyler's, one of the attachments in the award back on the 31st of March was the funding for the project. There was a specific line item in there for contingency. And then obviously it was included again in the item that came before you for the project financing. So this is essentially a housekeeping item to embed it back into the contract should we need it.
Any questions?
Mayor, if I can.
3.5%.
Yeah.
3.5.
Jorge.
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure that it's clear to the public that this wasn't part of the bidding process, or by doing this, it's not invalidating our bidding process.
No, it isn't. And a lot of the majority of our projects that we bid, this is a line item that's actually populated by the city. We will put in a contingency line item in the bid, either a percentage amount or a set dollar amount, so that when each subsequent contractor submits their bid, they have all their items plus they add what this contingency line item is to the overall bid. In this case, that wasn't included in the original bid, so this is following behind to embed that line item that we would have put in anyway into the contract. So, and again, if it's not used, it returns back to the project budget, it returns back to the penny fund.
Okay, so it wasn't included for any of the contractors?
Correct. None of the bidders had
So,
this.
so it's still even across the board? They're all
Correct.
judged on their own merit?
Correct. Excellent question.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Well, let me open to the public first.
Okay.
Anybody from the public wish to come forward and speak to this item? Okay, seeing or hearing none. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Franny and Commissioner Kynes, thank you. You had a comment?
Yes, I was reading over the contract, and Manhattan they are located in Tampa, correct?
Their local office in Tampa, I believe they're out of
They're an
Omaha.
Oklahoma corporation. I had not caught that,
Here we go.
but I still can vote for them.
All right, anybody else? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, thank you. And then we have the proposed agenda for August, thank you, Jorge. The proposed agenda for August 17th.
I've been drinking.
You brother.
I did.
Nothing special, just a normal type of agenda. Anybody have any changes? Yes, ma'am.
Just a point of order. I will not be able to be at the work session or commission meeting that week. I'll be out of town. If permitted by the commission, I'd love to zoom in, especially for the custodial contract on the work session. But that's at the will of the commission, but I will not physically be able to be here.
I don't see the custodial contract on the work session. Oh,
It's there.
Oh, gotcha.
3B.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's also the workshop that we have, the Skinner Boulevard.
Right. I mean, I'd love to zoom in, but that's at the will of the commission. But I'll physically not be able to be here.
You know, I really wondered about that too, because I have really wondered about, and maybe this is a legality, I know the executive order is over, but I know other bodies, jurisdictional bodies that still allow, if you can't be there physically.
I did talk to Nikki about this.
The standard is extraordinary circumstances. The city commission has discretion to determine what it accepts as extraordinary circumstances, so long as a physical quorum is present, those appearing virtually through Zoom or through other electronic means where they can simultaneously hear and participate in the discussion, can fully participate and vote.
And a physical quorum would be 3? I mean,
There
because
are 5 of
that's
you.
a sort of a,
Yeah, physical quorum's 3.
that's a little hard for me too that week. It could be. I really wondered about that.
How are other communities defining extraordinary circumstances? I guess that's the key. I mean, does it have to be a family emergency that you're away, or is it just you physically can't get here and the commission?
It's a discretionary decision. The Attorney General has recognized illness, being out of town for work, for other obligations. I think that there's probably a line by which a circumstance may not be considered extraordinary, but being out of town and illness are 2 that have been recognized by the Attorney General. that it's a discretionary decision of the fellow commissioners. So
Doesn't matter.
the biggest thing that you sometimes see is a definition of what constitutes extraordinary circumstances that some governing bodies or will specifically adopt, but that's.
Does it matter what you're out of town for? Like, I mean.
That's up to you all, and whether or not you consider that extraordinary or extenuating circumstances.
You know, actually, it is not that week that I have the issue, sorry. But I do have, I looked at an issue for another week and I just said no. Although I do have one that I will be out because I am on a state board and I can't help that, when they're meeting.
This is not me that makes the decision.
No,
It's
but
the
I mean,
five of
that
you
would
of whether or
fall-
not you choose to accept that it's an extenuating circumstance such that a commissioner can attend virtually.
Well, I
And
don't
you
have
can
an
do that
issue.
do that on a time-by-time basis. You can do, it's not, it's up to you. So as long as it's okay with the commission that Commissioner Freeney participate virtually, then and a physical quorum of you is present, then she fully participates in the meeting, she can vote. It works.
Yeah, I mean, I just
Yeah.
want, I'm gonna, I'll just, I think it's a discussion we have to have. I'm gonna be 100% transparent. I will be out of town and it will be 100% a vacation. It's, I'm gonna be up in, in Nantucket. But I will have one other one that's in September, which is gonna be probably our 10-minute second meeting on the millage, which will be with my mother, which I need to be up there because she's potentially having surgery. So to me, that's a given. Now, I think the commission has to decide if somebody's, on a vacation in another area, it's a, rare opportunity, is that extraordinary? I'm good either way. I mean, I've been on here 5 years, I think I haven't missed one meeting. So I'm good either way. And I understand this is a policy decision that we're gonna live with, moving out. So I want the commission to feel comfortable with whatever that is, so.
Can I ask you a question? Because in other, I think it's, you worked at the county. I think the county their policy is much more adaptable when people are out of town. And, I am not against that. I mean, with the physical quorum present, which I mean, I don't believe that anybody would not use that correctly. But, I mean,
we'd all be on our, again, we all are elected to be responsible people, so, and, but again, I wanted to put it out there and you guys can think about it, whatever.
Do you want to agendize
I do
it?
not know what
Maybe
the county
agendize
commission's
it?
rules are. I don't know how they handle it, so.
Agendize it.
Well, let me just ask this. Do we really need to make that big of a deal out of it?
No, you can just choose at
'Cause
any
in my
meeting
mind,
that's,
if
yeah.
she's willing, if she's can participate and we have a physical quorum,
No, you don't need.
call it
doesn't
a
need to
day.
be
I don't think there has to
separate
be a major
agenda.
conversation.
At the
I
beginning
mean, I think we're
of
all
it.
responsible adults here.
Yep.
Yeah, it might be kind of a new thing, but, we're all really, really busy people.
I think Nikki told me that there's only one situation where she saw somebody really abuse it, and the electoral, the people that elect people took care of that.
Yeah.
And that, was a
Yeah,
bigger
you
issue.
start not
than-
showing up for work too much, and the constituents
You're not
notice,
physically
no.
in town ever,
I mean, I know we always like to have rules and regulations, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, and maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more when we do our annual rules and regulation, which would probably be the time to do it. But in my mind, we're all responsible adults here. We're all reportable to the citizens and to ourselves as colleagues and to our staff, and so,
But, no, I agree with you, because I'm the first one, though, I wanted to make sure.
No, I just don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, you're not.
I agree with you.
Actually, you're not the first one, because when I had to go to Oklahoma to finish the estate, and I asked.
You listened in, and you couldn't participate, which
So-
really annoyed me.
But I'm just.
Not you, but the fact that you were in that position.
But I'm just saying that, whatever we do, just make it clear. That's fine with me. I mean,
I'd rather focus on ways to get the commissioners to be involved and listen in and vote, as opposed to judging whether or not something
should or shouldn't.
is right, extraordinary or
Right.
not.
I mean, the important thing is our participation and the time we spend preparing, and that we all do have different fields, for say different, every one of us is multi, we have different.
Multiple boards that we serve on.
Yeah, and we have different strengths, and, so it's a.
Zoom meetings are recorded. It is part.
Of the record.
Right, part of the record, and we have minutes that would include their comments.
Well, yeah, any way
Right.
that you all are able to communicate
yeah,
with Commissioner
so-
Freeney via Zoom would be here in this public meeting for everyone to observe and for the clerk to take down, et cetera.
We'll put her on the big screen.
Same as, yeah. Remember the picture thing? It
Yeah.
can be, it can be more, now you obviously have much better capabilities for commissioners to be able to simultaneously see and hear what's going on. That is more challenging on the phone, but this is a different technology that you all have, and so to your question, Mayor, at the beginning of that meeting, you all just vote to accept the extenuating circumstances of Commissioner Freeney being out of town and authorize her to participate virtually. So it's very quick. It's a procedural item, and it's within your discretion to allow.
So Jennifer, if you would, obviously prepare your staff to have the Zoom and work with Commissioner Freeney on the link.
I'll try to have a really nice background for you too that night.
Well, you'll be gone, so we won't have your barking dogs.
And
Go ahead.
Not to go down any rabbit holes with this.
Really?
so- I know.
I mean, we've been down a rabbit hole all morning.
Alice in Wonderland.
Sorry.
We're already there.
Every
I
subject's
know.
gone down a rabbit hole.
But just the idea that on the day, if we're having Zoom issues, are we able to separate, yes, her absence is excused, but all of a sudden, because of technical difficulties, no, she won't be able to participate, no, she won't be able to vote because of a logical reason.
Yeah, I can figure that out.
That's extenuating circumstances.
It is.
If for some reason the connection cuts out, it's just like if she got up and walked out of the room.
Right. Which she
No
does.
offense. I mean, that's not what you want. That's not what you want, but that's just, how many?
Yeah, no,
You've
it's not a
probably
big-
seen people
not a
get
big
up
deal.
and walk out of the room because they have to go to the restroom or something like that during the middle of a meeting, and those things do happen. But we would, I think, technically try to get her back in as soon as possible, but it's just the same as if a commissioner's gotten up and
Make
stepped.
sure wherever you go has good Wi-Fi.
What's that?
Just make sure wherever you go.
Already checked that.
Okay.
They do. There's good Wi-Fi.
Okay. All right. I need a motion and a second to approve the work session agenda for the 17th.
So moved.
Okay. I'm going to go with Commissioner Freeney, Commissioner Kynes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. You've got your direction, Jennifer.
Thank you, we do.
Okay. So let's take a quick 5-minute break before we go on to our workshop item, which is the FBI quarterly report.
Let's do it. John started drinking my.
I was a little discombobulated when I first got here, so I apologize for not making my comments sooner, but I appreciate you giving me the opportunity now. I will be honest with you, I had no idea that there was a month to celebrate Parks and Recs. I've worked in a recreational center in a different city for many, many years, and I've never experienced anything like this before. So I want to commend the city of Dunedin for a job well done. Also, I would be amiss to not give credit where credit is due. And I was always told that you're only as good as your leader. And I look at the leaders, not only here on this panel, but I look at the leaders at the MLK Center, where my daughter goes. And I don't mean to get emotional, but having a special needs child comes with very, very many challenges. And everybody there has embraced my child, has gone above and beyond. She doesn't have her group leader there today, or this week rather, but they come to me, they inform me, they communicate with me, they let me know, and I let them know, if you need anything, you call me. And they've always done that. I wouldn't have been able to get here today had I not been able to call Mark, and he navigated me from the MLK Center to here. So I truly just wanted to take a moment. Emily Hoban cannot speak her accolades enough. She has been the one to really take Haley and I underneath her wing and really give Haley the opportunity to grow and be successful. She will do anything and everything, just as Mark, just as Sean, just as anybody in that whole entire community center will do. So I just wanted to take a minute to sincerely thank them from the bottom of my heart, and to thank all of you, because like I said, it starts from the top and it works its way down. And you guys have done a phenomenal job, and just like the leaders at that center where my child is at right now, do a phenomenal job. So thank you for all that you do. I know it's tirelessly, and it's sometimes it goes unnoticed, but I did not want to go amiss and not give you guys the recognition that you deserve, along with the recognition for all the leaders at the camp where my daughter's at. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Nice. That was very nice.
Okay, we'll move on now to our workshop item, which is the Florida Business Incubator and their quarterly update. So, Bob?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, Bob Ironsmith, Director of Economic Development and Housing. I have here today Chair Daniel Duffy and Executive Director Ross Hilton to give an update on the quarterly report. This will be the third quarter for the Florida Business Incubator. If you remember, the FBI was formed in 2016. With the goal to nurture, foster, and create programs that would stimulate entrepreneurial type activity, as the city was heavily weighed and still is on service and hospitality type jobs, and we were looking to try to grow that a little bit more, knowing that we're primarily a residential community. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Danielle and to Russ to give you an update on their activities with the FBI.
Good morning, everybody. I would actually like to start our presentation with a testimonial from how we've been able to incubate a business even during a pandemic. So Russ Hilton, actually the owner of Dunedin Bike Tours, would like to give you his testimony of how the program has helped him.
Thank you. I'll tell you just a little quick story, so I'll keep it as brief as possible. I moved here about 5.5 years ago with me and my wife, and really didn't know a lot of people. But about 1.5 years ago, I had the opportunity to start my own business, and I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. And I started my business where I thought it would be helpful here in Dunedin. Well, when I got started, I didn't know where to go, where I needed for the city. I didn't know what the state, any of that. But shortly after I got through those little hurdles, I actually met somebody that said, hey, you need to go to the Florida Business Incubator. There's entrepreneurs there that'll help you get started. And I started attending meetings every week. And I met somebody there who also had a passion for social media marketing. And I met and talked with him for a little bit, and then hired him to help me with my social media, which I thought I actually knew what I was doing beforehand. After meeting with him at the incubator, he showed me what I needed to do and added video to my social media. Some of you have even actually seen a few of my videos. And I started doing those videos during a pandemic when everybody's sitting at home watching videos. By the time we were able to get back out into the community and being able to start exercising again, people knew who I was. But that was because I met somebody at the incubator. A few months goes by, we're actually starting to grow the business a little bit more. And by actually December of this past year, I actually added bikes to my tours. I have my own fleet now. And by December, I thought I still knew what I was doing. Nope, met somebody else at the incubator as well, who helped me coach along so I can grow even more. Right now, I've been busy every weekend since before Christmas, taking people around town, and I get to do the thing I love, showcasing the city I love, Dunedin. But I met all these different people and connected with them, engaged with them at the incubator. And then Danielle asked me to be on the board, and I connected even more. And I found that the other passion that I have, helping other small businesses. And when I help other small businesses, they grow just like I did. And I take my experiences and I get to share it with them. They get to do it around and share it with others as well. And so it's a growth pattern that just starts with one little ripple in the water. And so I've been fortunate enough to be part of the board and being able to grow my business. And hopefully this next year, I'm actually going to be ahead of my schedule. What I thought was my 5-year plan, I'll be able to do in 2. And because of the people I have met and connected with at the Florida Business Incubator and been able to share that back out to other entrepreneurs here in Dunedin and around North Pinellas. Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that said, we know we have been around since 2016. Unfortunately, the organization did not have any strategic planning, forecasting, or internal development. When I took over during the pandemic, with it being slowing down, we were able to actually look at what resources, what education, partnerships, and redevelop everything. We also have redeveloped our board where everyone has a job description, a commitment sheet, so we have less turnover. The turnover the organization had is not promising when an entrepreneur is looking for support when you have different people coming in and out. So with that said, one of the things we also did was Russ, unfortunately, is now leaving the board because we've hired him as our executive director. So going forward, we will always have one person because, as you know, a board will continue to change. So from an internal development, we now are better structured to implement everything that we had. Some of the things that we were given was funding through the city that we were not utilizing in the right areas. We were able to purchase 10 scholarships for new business owners, people who have left their job during the pandemic to turn their hobby into a business. We have fostered those relationships to making sure that they are starting their business on the right plan, right foot, and that way they don't have closed doors. So they're turning their ideas into where we can now open up a brick and mortar in our area offering different types of businesses that have come from the pandemic. One of the other things that we decided to do with the funding the city has provided us is invest in technology. Most entrepreneurs are younger and they are tech savvy. So we now have an application that we have rights to, and we would love to partner with the city and other city organizations to push notifications out. But during our app, we have phone numbers to city officials. We have processes of how to even start your business, from registering with the city, paying your dues there with the state, and how to get in touch with your financial planning, bank lenders, real estate. What is it that you are looking to do so we can actually foster that relationship with these new business owners so we can develop them properly? And then our hopes and dreams are as like Russ, once they can run on their own, they're free to go do what they need to do and succeed, especially within Dunedin. The other thing with Dunedin is we need a working space. So we are trying to do fundraising and partner with other cities and North Pinellas County's economic development and getting additional funds so we can purchase a building where we can attract startups with high-paying jobs to not only bring in the money for our town, but so people will start coming to our town for their own board meetings, their own conventions. Have a place where they can come and share their knowledge, their education within our community, but also it then goes back and supports our restaurants, our shopping. That is the one thing that our city is really lacking that I feel with the support of everybody and the incubator will be able to establish. I'm going to actually turn over the mic to Russ because he's going to tap a little bit more into that as our executive director. Russ?
So like you said, being the executive director, I kind of lead things and lead different board meetings. But one of the things we did with our fundraiser that we just recently did, it was our poker bike ride. And we raised money to help get money towards a building, but we also did things to help with our community at the same time. We picked out two businesses. One is Citrus Styles here in Dunedin, and one is Rats of Chocolate in Tarpon Springs. And we're actually going to give them money. So don't tell them. We're actually going to surprise them and give them $250 each, kind of a little stimulus program that they're not expecting because they were struggling entrepreneurs as well, and they got started in a pandemic too. And they're still trying. So we are trying to help our community giving back as well with all our fundraising.
And between just giving back cash, we're giving different, if you need help with business coaching, we have people on staff or partnered with that will provide you business coaching, financial planning. If you're not sure what type of customer that you should really be attracting or what your product needs to showcase, we have all of these partnerships now in place to truly refer people so they can continue growing their business. We are focusing on North Pinellas just because, as all of our sister cities, we're all very small. However, we are right at the center of North Pinellas. Everyone, when you come through Dunedin, you have to switch over alternate 19 through our town. So I think Dunedin should and will always be the headquarter of the incubator, but we just need to continue fostering relationships with the city to know what new businesses are coming in town so we can better educate them as well, and also know what you all would like from us to continue growing and developing these businesses. And that is it. Russ,
you guys could sit right there. You don't have to stand.
Oh, I'm actually happy to stand from sitting for right now. You guys should actually have stand-up desks eventually.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'll open it up for, Bob, did you have anything you wanted to add before we get into?
No, not at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Questions?
Yep. I can start. I appreciate, you guys are at least newer to me. I was elected in 2016, and I've always been a little bit, concerned about the money we spend with this and making sure we're getting our best bang for the buck. So I know you're new to the game, but because it was the program I think was voted in before I was elected. I think I probably saw the first quarterly report or something. What I didn't see in your report was kind of the real data, like how many people are coming, how many are Dunedin specific, what number of businesses have actually formed because of the incubator. Again, I know you're trying to start some new initiatives, but I'd really like to understand what we've actually accomplished, because I think that, 5 years so we're probably over $150,000 of investment now. And so I really would like to see some numbers. I don't know if you can tell us about specific numbers today or specific numbers of businesses that have actually successfully started.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Well, 75% of our businesses are here in Dunedin based. Most of the businesses have become a brick and mortar. Cookie Crumbs, the owner Brandy, had used the incubator in delegating her cells when she purchased that, and she is also a growing, successful business. We have Local Union, which most of you know that was a new business who came here in October. As far as previous businesses, there was a lot of businesses that were partnered with both the chamber and the incubator. So past data, I'm not sure, but as of current data, we do have 75%, and almost with all of our scholarships that are almost gone through have succeeded in actually earning investments and looking at property here in Dunedin, whether it's a shared working space or opening a brick and mortar. So our return is definitely starting to come back. Unfortunately, when this was all started, like I said, there was no internal structure for things to actually be implemented. No one was actually using the funds in the correct way. So one of the things that when I took over is I wanted to start investing the money back into these businesses so we can contain that data. And unfortunately, we're still with the pandemic and everything, but I would say our success rate is 90%. We've only had one business who was in the incubator who unfortunately had a bit of a mental breakdown from being a business owner and left the organization and closed his doors. However, that was more of a mental health issue rather than his business actually was growing quite substantially.
Were you guys able to, give us numbers of, who's in attendance? I mean,
So-
when you say 75%, I mean, that could be 75%.
So 75%, we have normal, for incubator members right now, we have like about 102 actual routine members from all of the Spark Tank meetings, our social networking, and our education workshops. So out of that 102, 75% is that. With the attendance for almost all of our networking, educational, because when we network, we actually do a presentation from some other, whether it's an attorney or a banker on lending, we do have a presentation within the quick social hour afterwards. With those that have been primarily here in Dunedin at 40 people max, every time we have been completely sold out with people hoping of no shows to join these meetings. On top of that, we now are doing Spark in person. Spark lost a lot of interest being Zoom fatigued, and we were meeting every week. There wasn't really any structure. So we started doing more of a structured where this is a topic we're meeting on. We promote it via social media outlets, our website, and our app to let people know this is our topic, this is how you can join us. And we are now meeting at the Dunedin Golf Course once a month, and we had 10 people last week, and then next week we meet again at the Ring in Clearwater, because we do have a great partnership with the Spark Alliance program with the City of Clearwater.
And I might add too, the other meetings we have are Talk About Business and our Friday CEO, which stands for Connect, Engage, and Open for Business. We do a lot of networking themed activities to get people engaged and get them to really talk to each other. Because sometimes when you walk into a networking thing, you walk in with kind of like, do I really want to talk to this person? It's like public speaking. You really kind of not sure if you want to talk to them. But if you break down those walls and you allow people just to relax just a little bit and have a little fun, they're much better to engage. And so we have actually seen people come to our meetings, have a little fun in those games, and we have a theme with each one. Last week, it was right before 4th of July, we talked about courage. Courage to take that first step as an entrepreneur. And we then had a little obstacle course that they had to go through blindfolded, because they had to take those first steps. But those are the types of things that we're doing every month with those different networking things. But we tie that in each month for the networking. And you'll see people connect right after and say, I want to talk to you. We've got to connect. We've got to be a business partner with this. And they do. And the great thing is you see it evolve in front of you that day. It's not just 2 weeks later or something. It's that day that they're really connecting with those different events. So we do have a lot of people that show up to them, and they're really coming back going, what are we going to do next? Curiosity wants us to come back.
But you guys could provide us with a more, numbers-based report.
Yeah, I mean, my presentations, I've been told, is a little bit fancy smanchy, so I would be more than happy to show you all of this stuff, because as we've been reporting to Bob and team monthly, we are really trying to be ahead of the game. Entrepreneurs are always moving fast. We do things quick, and I see a lot of things that other cities are doing, and I just want to continue the momentum. So as far as the numbers and the data and how much money we've spent and that, I'd be more than happy to share that presentation with you. Bob, I can give that to you to share. But we really have created something that was there, but no one just enforced it and implemented it, and that is what we're doing. We are now truly getting in front of these people, the kids who are not going to go to college and start a business, people who are moving into the area. I really want to continue our growth, because why not? And it goes just community development, business owners, it all kind of ties into each other.
And do you have any idea of how many businesses have actually been established because of and are in place today because of the incubator?
So I do know the Cookie Crumbs, and I'm going to consider Russ because he does now have storage facility in town and is growing. And then we have we've had 5 since I have been in chair that are fully established running businesses that don't really need any assistance from the incubator.
Okay.
And I took over a year ago.
Okay. So stuff like that with numbers and some of that, you can help us. What's your guys' total budget?
Our total budget from you guys, we receive $35,000 a year. We need a budget of $175,000 a year for our working space. Continue to have staff, continue to purchase in business scholarships, and to attract outside areas and coming in here to start your business. One of the greatest things that I own my own business here in Dunedin. I live here in Dunedin. One of the things that I think we are really lagging is creating opportunities for younger people to come in. And the younger people are really starting to grow their businesses. And they were willing to take the chances because after the pandemic, why not take a chance? So I'm really trying hard to get in front of those people. So when someone comes to a networking event and they start pitching what business they have, like if they're a coffee shop, I'm going to tell them, maybe go a little bit further out on Main Street. Don't focus so much in downtown. That way their doors don't close. But we provide a lot of detailed information like that as well. Or permitting, or, this is what you need to do. It's not just starting up a business. It's making a partnership with your local community and your city.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are we the only funding source right now for you?
No. We now have paid memberships that are $150, so all of our members now have a paid membership. We are meeting with the City of Largo next month with their commissioners, and they are looking to grant us $50,000. We are also meeting with the City of Safety Harbor in September for their budget meeting for October, and they are looking at $20,000. So even though we're starting to get funding from everywhere else, we are still trying to make sure that Dunedin is the key because you guys have already invested in the organization for so long. On top of that, we're doing fundraisings and we are going to the banks. I have been door knocking on banks and starting to get money that way as well, from anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000.
And I read your information. It just, again, but what is your current total budget? Is it?
Our current total budget is $35,000 because we haven't received the rest of it.
So, but you're working, and I saw your strategic plan, which I thought was good. Okay. That's all I have right now. Well, I have one more, Bob. I guess it's for you. The county's economic development. It just seems like stuff like this would be funding and things that would be coming out of them. What's their role in the incubator concepts around the county?
Yeah, we approached them probably a year and a half ago or so, and I think at the timing they weren't ready to participate with us. I think now the timing is a little bit different. Obviously they have a new director that will be coming on board. I think their overall climate and tone is more inclined for this. They've obviously done quite a bit in St. Pete, South County, and I think there's definitely a thought that North County needs a presence too. So I think there's something like that could look to come to fruition here, some type of participation from them.
And to piggyback off of that, that is why we've been fostering so many relationships. So that way, when we go in front of those county commissioners for the North Pinellas advocacy, I can say, this is what we've been trying to do to establish these relationships to continue growth within North Pinellas like we have with South Pinellas.
And my last question, either one of you can answer it, but where does the services of the chamber and the incubator merge? I mean, where does one end and the other begin? And just trying to understand.
So the incubator is supposed to be for businesses who need incubation of their business, whether it's education, resources, and then the chamber is supposed to serve as an advocacy of your business. So the difference between the chamber and us is the chamber should be out there promoting the business owners in town, making sure that they're connecting people, and we're just here to make sure that the business can survive and pay and understand what a chamber can do for them.
Okay. That's all I have right now.
Thank you. I've never been shy about my support of the FBI and was actually a regular attendee up until the pandemic, and then Zoom fatigue sets in. And I've kind of stepped away, and I've had a hard time getting back, so I'm glad you guys are going. But I've also have never been shy about voicing my frustrations with the FBI, and it's not really ever been where I thought the potential could lead it. So I guess one of my questions is actually to piggyback off of Commissioner Freeney's question about the chamber. So it sounds like, Danielle, do you see a relationship between the DDMA, the incubator, and the chamber at all? Are you strictly independent, or
no?
What
Absolutely.
does that relationship look like?
So I think every organization should have a partnership or some type of relationship. Each organization has different means, absolutely. But there's no reason why, if someone is going through the incubator, that they can't start attending chamber or DDMA events, because those are the types of organizations for the longevity of their business or career here should be with. The incubator is supposed to be just that bridging gap of, oh, hey, this is the business owner from here. They may understand. You know, we're just here to incubate, to give them the educational resources, not be the long-term really key relationship holder, if that makes sense.
And I might add too, with that, with our incubator program, we really want them to join and be members, and really only be members for about 4 to 5 years. And after that, they graduate and they really move on. During that time, they should be part of the chamber and the DDMA, but they won't be long-term for us. We know that. We know that we are always going to have to be growing. But once they get past us, they should be with all these different chambers in the whole area, not just here in Dunedin, but everywhere. So really, our program is only that 4 to 5 years is where they should be at. We want them from the ground floor to the top floor, and then they're on their own. The only reason that they should be really coming back to us is to mentor the next business. And that's the real thing of it, is we're ongoing with this for years.
Okay, so it sounds like we're in agreement that the businesses should have a connection with the chamber,
Absolutely.
but you don't necessarily believe that the incubator itself needs to have that partnership, that relationship with the chamber or the DDMA or any other business organization.
We should definitely have the partnership with them, because this way, when we take in a new business that is going part of our scholarship program, we can go to the chamber or the DDMA and say, hey, there's this new business, you know, go ahead and greet them, or this is what their intentions are. Any way you can help them. That should really be the relationship, is just communicating so we all are under the same page of what businesses, what type of people, what industries are coming into our area.
Okay. And you have spoken highly of Dunedin, and so thank you. We're all kind of proud of Dunedin. But as you reach out and you hold these other meetings in other cities, and you mentioned you're trying to partner with Safety Harbor and Largo, and Dunedin's already there. You've mentioned you want to kind of stay in Dunedin, but I can also see that just business pull, you know, it might have the tendency to all of a sudden bring the incubator outside of Dunedin.
So with that, the only reason why we've started to meet outside of Dunedin, which we only do every other month, if that, is because we were losing engagement and attendance. So to do that, we had to start spreading out, to start saying, hey, entrepreneurs of this area or this area, let's start talking, get them engaged with us. So when we come back to Dunedin, because we don't do anything that's economic, like driven, out of Dunedin. We just meet as a Spark meeting, a round table session conversation, and at the Ring in Clearwater. But that's because we already have a fostered relationship with them. But everything else we've been doing primarily here in Dunedin. We've had great partnerships with, you know, the Orange Blossom, just willing to give us a Thursday or Friday for our CEOs. So we are doing a lot of things, but to continue growing, we have to continue growing other mindsets and bringing other people back and forth, because that's how you're going to create a sustainability between all of North Pinellas. The headquarters portion would be us having the banquet space, the conference rooms, the shared working spaces here, so we can continue to then say, hey, our meeting space is here in Dunedin.
And I do appreciate your focus on the younger people and startups, and because that's
Well,
Is it
my background is in HR, and one of the biggest things right now is the reason why employment rate is so low is because so many people did start a new business or they traded their field. So this is really a good time for entrepreneurs to take lead and make sure that we don't have shut doors within our community in 5 years because someone was hungry, excited, got the money, opened up a business, and then they crashed because they didn't have any of the basic fundamentals. And that's what we're trying to provide, is those basic fundamentals to start your business and then watch you grow and then come back to mentor.
And you mentioned the headquarters in Dunedin, but you're hopefully going to partner with Largo.
Yep, so Largo,
50,000. So how's that going to go over in Largo?
So I've already,
in Dunedin, but
yep, we've already established that way we'd like to eventually grow to the size where we have committees, where we have an incubator committee in Largo hosting, whatever activities that they're doing, but their shared workspace is here in Dunedin. They have to use the Dunedin resources as far as restaurants, shopping, but they may have their business that they're starting in Largo. So that is the way we're trying to do the partnership.
and you think that's feasible?
I do. I mean, we've been approached from several organizations on, I even talked to Jennifer when we met about the Coke plant, which is off my plate now, don't worry. But there's a few buildings that are going off of Skinner that people have asked, hey, would you guys be interested in leasing a part of our building to have it here? So we do have those relationships now going to make sure that the headquarters stay here in Dunedin. But again, for us to continue entrepreneurship and growth, we have to dabble with other cities and work with them, or else we're not going to have that advantage of knowing what's going on around us as well.
Okay. And you mentioned the focus is kind of North County.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Largo in there. Where do you draw that line? What do you consider to be Central County or South County?
So the only reason why we're going to Largo is because they have been granted a lot of funding that they are able to get us. Normally, I wouldn't have gone as south as Largo. However, we want to continue funding this program, so I'm going where there's money. It's not going to be a long-term investment that we've already discussed. It would be a 2-year investment for them at the $50,000, and that is so we can continue getting businesses that have the ideas, turn them into a profitability business, and then they can do whatever they need to do. So they're investing it more in for the education resources that we have.
And how far along are you in those negotiations, those conversations? With Safety Harbor, Largo, in general?
We're going to be meeting with them, presenting to them next month for September. Sorry, I'm already wishing July away. In September for their October budgets.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Commissioner, questions?
I'm just curious because I'm very familiar with the Oxford Exchange. Why you really believe that you have to own this space?
Oh, I don't have to own it. I just want the opportunity to lease it or partner with somebody. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No. Even like the Dunedin Mix, I've already spoken to the owner there, Brandon, when he was in development, but his spaces are not going to be where parking would be an issue. So obviously, we're going to have a turnover of people using the resources. We need to make sure that it fits all the needs. But no, we don't need to physically own it. The budget that we have set and forecasted out was so we can rent and maintain it with staff and just upholding the building.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure about
No, we would love to partner with anyone who's willing to work with us.
Just as a footnote, the North Pinellas Cultural Alliance is made up of Dunedin, Largo, Tarpon Springs, Oldsmar, Clearwater, Safety Harbor. They all meet at the DFAC. So there are other models, that although there are different entities, they may choose to keep their sole basis, sort of their rental, their lease in one town.
Mike, your mic.
Mike.
Just push the button. Oh, brother. Did you hear me?
I did. I did.
It's sort of like, let me ask you this. Is it sort of like you all are Horton Hatches the Who?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you all do. You sort of hatch.
Yes.
The who, and then the who, it's up to the who to then interact with broader economic people like the Chamber and the DDMA to continue their process.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
You know, and I know you're going to kill me but I just saw, and I thought I was fascinated by this. I just read about somebody during the pandemic, and they started playing around with Rubik cubes. They started doing sculptures of Rubik cubes that are now being in the major museums. And that was strictly a pandemic, you know, sort of, we're playing around with this, and it became like a major business. Nobody had ever done that, make sculptures out of these Rubik cubes. So
That's strange. You'd think everybody'd be doing that.
Well, no, but isn't that really amazing? I mean,
That's actually a perfect example. What I was saying is we are the organization we want to know about these ideas and turn them into reality. That is really what the incubator is about, is if there's a will, there's a way. If you have the idea, we can help you structure and backbone it to get your wings flying.
So, I mean, I have always supported the idea of entrepreneurship. And again, I have been slapped down several times because it's not just young. You know, older people go into a different stage of their life after,
Absolutely.
you know, spending whatever, 40 plus years in something, and said, you know, I've always had this hobby, I have this interest, how do I even go about it? On the other hand, I do think it's very important that you all, you know, provide all the data and statistics and to show it's really viable. And, you know, very interesting saying how you sort of started your company, but I do think I agree with Commissioner Franey and Vice Mayor, that, you know, you need the data, you need the statistics to really show that you're meeting measurable objectives. So that's my Shark Tank, right?
Like it.
By the way, we did play Shark Tank one night.
At the Hanu.
Yes.
Commissioner, questions?
Thank you. Yes, I have some questions, but first, if you wouldn't mind, because we're really just doing questions right now. If you would could you just give me about 30 seconds of your background, Danielle? Just really quick, because here you are heading up a Florida business incubator, and that's a very responsible position. So
Thank you. Quick backstory, I worked in corporate HR for 25 years. I succeeded my career being a single mom as well, doing education, going to work, doing everything I need to do. And with that, my last year in corporate, I decided that I have a lot of friends who own businesses here in town, that there's no HR support for these businesses. And HR is very expensive to hold. So I opened up my own business here in town, supporting these businesses on compliance, making sure if they have hiring needs, policies, handbooks, any kind of function of your business. I do support businesses around here through HR. And the way I became part of the incubator was I joined every organization, as a new business owner should, to see what would be the best resource going forward. And Amanda Bowman had recommended me for the board. And because I am very aggressive, I do ask a lot of questions. I understand your metrics. It's been one of my frustrations, trust me. So I kind of started doing things, asking questions, and everyone was like, whoa, Danielle, you need to take over. So as I've taken over, I have made this my primary responsibility. I have put my own company on the back burner just because this organization calls for a lot of time and energy, a lot of it. So that is a little bit backstory of where and how I became to where I'm at now. Thank you, John.
So thank you very much. So Bob here was the initiator of this concept for us here. There's a question in here, okay? So and also for Bob. But, so he was a big supporter of this, and we all kind of went along with this after we looked and saw what was happening. I always wondered about this name, Florida Business Incubator, but it was FBI, so it was kind of intriguing. But I understood what the goals and objectives were, I thought, and I still think I do. And that of course is to grab folks, regardless of what their age is, that are looking to do something, and to make sure that they even have a place to sit initially. They may not even need any hardware, so to speak. They just need a place to sit, a place that's functionable for them, and then somebody that knows some of the facts as you've presented to us here today. So in a year's time, the name Florida Business Incubator exists. It happens to fit with what happens in the county here, because we do talk North County. When you talk with people in business, or you talk about people in small businesses, a lot of the talk is North County. It's not just Dunedin, or it's not just other places that are located near here. You're thinking big. And do you think this thinking a little bit bigger than just out of Dunedin? You have commented and you have said you think this is a way for us to go.
I 100% do, especially after the pandemic, with shared workspaces is going to be the new wave. All these high-tech businesses around here in the Clearwater area, they're not going back to fully inside. So when they have their sales reps who need to meet with another business, they need shared working spaces because they're just depleted their own buildings because of overhead. So those are the other things, but we really need to, if we want to continue, I know our ordinances for the city on bringing in certain type of businesses, and especially big name corporations, to be able to continue funding employment in growth within our area, we need that type of stimulus of whether it's right on the segue of Curlew and County Road 1 where you're Palm Harbor, Dunedin, it doesn't really matter because you're still going to funnel traffic back into our downtown area when it comes to shopping and food. So I'm really looking to create a place where all around, whether it's Jacksonville or Alabama or Oklahoma, if they want to come and do business in one of the most gorgeous areas and really show off, because I know as a business owner, when I hold a meeting, there's nothing more I love than having a lunch at Bon Appetit and showing like how beautiful our water is and how we can walk everywhere. That is the way people are starting to live their lives and do their businesses. So yeah, I definitely think it could be something big.
So for the three of you, Bob, and for the three of you, we started this sort of with that thought in mind, as I understood it. And it sounds to me like we're picking that back up again after a couple, well, we had little stumbles. We had a couple little stumbles, and we're picking that back up. And it seems like this is the greatest time to do this. It's better now than what it ever has been for us to be involved in something like this. In an incubator, interesting word, but I get that, and I got to, when I did my tours and things of the previous business, the one that was down in Clearwater, for example. This seems to hit those buttons. Of the people that we have taken in or had formed businesses here, Bob, and you've been through this whole thing since it started, and then you guys. Are these people, are we accommodating these people now, and can we grow this within the North County, in your opinion, based on what has happened in the past?
I think there's definitely an opportunity to grow it. You know, when we initially looked to start this, it was because we had more lower paying positions, high quality life. Dunedin's quality life is top shelf. And what we really wanted to do was take advantage of that opportunity so that people didn't have to drive down to St. Pete or something to start a business. So, you know, I think the opportunity is definitely there. Yes, we've had some stumbles. I kind of like that word. I know I'm repeating what you said, Commissioner, but I think we've had some stumbles, but I think some good seeds have been planted with this. And, you know, it's now, you know, I think getting the data is going to be key. I think we all want to see that. I think Danielle and Russ heard that loud and clear. that the data needs to be there. You know, when this was started too, it was you know, Dunedin tends to be the first in so many different instances, whether it's parks, whether it's economic, whatever it is. And when we started this, nothing like this really existed other than really Clearwater was trying to move forward with it. So this was the effort. You know, we also were the first to get a navigator to help businesses through the business recovery. And we worked really closely with the Chamber, and the Chamber was great with that, as well as the merchants, and FBI participated somewhat. So we tried to be ahead of the curve a little bit. I think the interesting question that I'm hearing today is, you know, can the county start to play a little bigger role with us? You know, Pinellas County, can that be fostered? That's one of the things I wrote down as a note. So if I was quickly recapping, I know the other commissioners haven't spoken, but I think metrics is important, data, and, you know, other ability of the county to kind of participate with us. That's some of the things that I'm hearing, and showing results, you know.
One of the things that we would also like as an organization is if a new business is coming into town and registering themselves with the city of Dunedin, for us to be notified so we can then reach out to them and see if they even could use any of our educational platforms. So that would also be a great benefit. And one of the other benefits would be to maybe host, obviously not anytime soon, but for all of us to get together for the organizations, and maybe we can present to them on a better like how we can help each other, because I've heard a lot of questions too about the chamber relationship and the DDMA relationship. We should all be working together. We are all here to support each other, and it's really, you know, sad that we have to even worry about where these parts play, because we are a big enough community for everyone to have a great role in working together.
And so, my final thing is, other than money, what is it that you would like from us? You're at the Dunedin Golf Club now, okay, and that's just super. I realize there's some limitations to that. You would like a facility, or you'd like to be able to get into someplace somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, if there's development that maybe that is forecasted out, that obviously we are not privy to the information, to let us know, so maybe we can also work with it and helping the dollars for that. Or if you know of a property that's going to be, you know, turned over. Real estate, obviously, here in Dunedin is very, very a tough thing. So being ahead of that, besides knowing what new businesses are coming to town, I think would really help benefit us to get ahead of the game as well.
And do you need that facility capacity all the time, 24 hours a day, or do you just need that during certain periods, or?
No, we have the need for full time. We really do. Between all of the new social media things that have come out with the tech, we need somewhere where people can come in the evening hours or in the morning hours where there's not other background noise, or maybe they're working a full-time job still, and then you can only work on the weekends. So those are the different types of things that we're trying to make sure that we accommodate them so they don't feel the frustrations of being a new business owner.
Thank you. I'll pass on any more questions.
Okay. Thanks for the presentation. Appreciate it. A lot of folks have already asked questions that I would have asked, so I'm just going to jump around. When you do provide the data, if you guys could also provide a broader breakdown on your budget. So if your budget's $35,000 today, what is that $35,000 being spent on? So I'm assuming you're collecting some kind of a salary.
Yep.
You know, what's going towards what? If you can provide that, that would be great. I guess I have a question on the office space issue. One of the things that I think we learned when we first started this, because I was here when that started, and we did visit in the old Achieva building in Clearwater, a program that was going on there was shared office space, training, and all of that type of thing. The key that really made it work, which I absolutely do think one of the reasons it struggled is because it didn't have this component, and that was the shared office space. I mean, that is what an incubator does. You know, the base of it is the shared office space, and then the next step nexus is the education. So every incubator I've ever seen has had that. So I do think it's important. I'm concerned, and I'm just going to share this. We have the ring right there in Clearwater. Yes, it's across the border, but I'm concerned about trying to create something. It's not going to look like that, okay, obviously, but to serve a need so close to something that is pretty successful from what I understand.
The ring has very limited capacity for who and when they could rent the spaces from them. So they are very, even with us being a partner with them, we can only utilize their space once a month because there's such a need for them. That is why I think opening up a second one wouldn't be too bad of an idea because, you know, Largo, Pinellas Park will be more used to using the Clearwater. And we all know when people don't typically go south of Gulf to Bay, they go north. We stay north. So this way we're now attracting the businesses in Palm Harbor, Safety Harbor, Oldsmar to kind of come over here and let them take care of that mid-county area. But they are very popular. They are being very successful. They have they do their own mailboxes as well, which is something that maybe we can even possibly offer. And they're making a lot of money. The hub in Largo is not as successful, same kind of concept, but they're driving in a lot of revenue just from having a postal box and an address to say their business is at.
Okay. So I guess the other thing I want to express is I know you've made a major point of talking about the partnership with other business community, business organizations in the city. But I do have to be honest and express a concern. The city opened up a business recovery task force when COVID started, and we invited all the business organizations to send their head. FBI did send the previous chair, and he did come until he was no longer the chair, and then nobody from the FBI has attended. That was concerning. It was also concerning that the chamber did a workshop for exactly what you just described, for everybody to kind of come forward and say what is their mission, what's their role in the business community and all of that. And again, you all didn't attend. And I've been to a number of chamber events. I don't see FBI there. And so I just don't understand what's going on and why there is this thing, and it's really concerning.
I can tell you right now why that is.
Okay.
I took over chair of the incubator after I did a report for the Chamber of Commerce. I was hired to do what I do, an HR audit. I then presented my HR audit, my findings, that either the president of the chamber should be dismissed or someone needs to do actual training. Ever since then, we have not had any communications because obviously I'm the chair of an organization and I had given very, very hard information for being such a small town. My own business has suffered from it as well. So that is why there has been no backbone to the relationship. The other reason that we did not attend the last strategic workshop was because the approach. We were approached by Mr. Brady and said that we need to meet his needs, do what he needs to do, and that is not a type of way to start a relationship. I asked if we can meet in a larger setting so it wasn't just all of us in the chamber, maybe using either here or the library. It was completely muted. I have been brutally attacked in several forums by certain people in the chamber. So it's made it very hard to be able to foster a relationship when there is no willing to say, okay, Danielle, you did your job. That's not what we're trying to do here. Let's work together. And we have tried several attempts. And with us not being present in the task action, I was not aware of it. Dr. Broom was a fantastic leader. However, the transitioning, and Bob has been great support to me, is I was left starting an organization from scratch, which I had that's why we don't have metrics. I didn't have any information. So what I've really been focusing on is making sure we do have those type of metrics, being partners, being in front of you so you all know who we are so we can start being invited to these things again. And personally, I've been trying to reestablish my relationship with Pam, with Matt, with all of their staff, with all of their board members, which I do have a very good relationship with. But to put that personal assessment aside of what I was hired to do, and let's focus on now working together.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the detailed explanation, and I am aware. I guess the leadership of the organization, and I don't mean to be critical here, but I understand if there was something from a personal nature, but I guess what I don't understand is maybe why Russ didn't go instead.
That's because almost every one of our board members has been personally attacked by people from the chamber, so it's very uncomfortable and hard to go, even as we're both members of our own personal business of the chamber. The incubator is a member of the chamber, but when we attend or do anything, we're told we're not welcomed. So that is why, if you've noticed in the last 5 months, even for my own personal business, I don't go to the events because it is very, very difficult.
All right, well, I don't want to get
But that's why we fostered, like Maggie, she attends all of the stuff on behalf of the incubator because, there's no issues between relationships there. So Maggie Butler represents us, Stephen Hutchings represents us, and they're attending things, especially more in the recent times.
Well, I mean, I saw the invitation that went out from that workshop. It was also a city-involved invitation, and
our approach was
I guess no one else was offended or concerned about the location. So that's my concern, that this is continuing to get perpetuated. The whole reason it was being done was to help improve the relationships between all of the businesses. And then to have one business organization to be upset about the invitation and not go, it was completely derogative to what we were trying to achieve. Yeah. So I guess it's a huge concern, and I feel like there's still ongoing anxiety.
It's just frustrations because every time that, we have been very successful, and every time we try to do something, we're told we're not allowed to network. We're not allowed to do this. We can't do this. We have to go through the chamber for it. But we're our own separate nonprofit. So it's been very concerning that why are we being told or dictated by another business on what to do when we're just now trying to actually take everything that's been given to us and start actually doing it.
So I think part of the reason, and Bob will agree with this, is when we started to give funding to FBI, when we had it all start here, we had a long discussion with the chamber. At the time, it was Lynn Wargo. And there were very specific discussions about how there would not be crossover between the two. We'd had this long relationship with the chamber. We wanted to make sure the chamber was comfortable with what we were doing. We did feel that there was a kind of a clear separation of missions, but that the two organizations could be real great partners. For instance, if you just look at the Ring and Clearwater Chamber and the city of Clearwater, there's a huge connection there. The chamber's not doing that. The Ring is. So the chamber there has always been a partnership. And we were very specific to the chamber that we would ensure that that each organization could do their own thing, but that we were very strong on wanting the two organizations to have a partnership. So that has probably that same, mentality, and given that there is no real communication going on, everybody's judging each other. Because they were assured from the very beginning that there, wouldn't be crossover. I'm not trying to determine whose fault any of that is. That's not my role. I'm just trying to express what my concerns are, because when I do see what's going on in Largo and I do see what's going on in Clearwater, there is a huge partnership. between the two organizations. And of course, we also have the Merchants Association. And everybody has their different roles. But I did see what the city and the chamber were trying to do by having this workshop, was trying to bring everybody together. And that was, it was just tough. So it is what it is. It's water. I can't fix it. It's water under the bridge.
But I would love for you as a city to help us, you know, I mean, when there is task force, because unfortunately, like I said, you know, with the incubator, we've had such a high turnover. That was the first thing I made sure I corrected, was our structure within our organization. So we don't have miscommunications like this. We don't have, like, for example, I never knew that was a conversation about events, or else I, for my own integrity, would have gone and said, hey, I'm hosting this event. What do you want to do? Instead, I'm just trying to push forward to show that we should still be around and still support businesses. But again, I would love to, I mean, like I said, my evaluation was done off of professional. I love the chamber. I mean, that's how I've met most of you, actually. It has been through chamber events, and I've always been a cheerleader of the chamber and the DDMA, especially the DDMA, with, you know, how many great things that they're starting to do again as well. But there's no reason why we all can't work together. One of the things I do think, though, that we need to start doing is maybe the biggest thing that I've heard from you guys is about the relationship with the chamber. Maybe instead of having those conversations of what the relationship, you should be asking, what can they start doing together? What can we start working together? For example, they just hosted a job fair. We could have, I've given them plenty of opportunity. We can push those type of notifications out on our app. We have over 5,000 entrepreneurs that follow us socially right now. Those are the things that I would love to help with, but if I ask or offer it, we don't get any communication back at all. And we still every week send our newsletter out to them. We give them events that we're doing. We really do try to foster a relationship because there are things we could do together. And there's no reason why we can't do it together.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that, you know, whatever is going on, I mean, there's been social media posts, too, that have been pretty derogatory.
For what?
There was a social media post about the chamber's, the video that went out about Love Dunedin.
That was my own personal.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, that was a product of the city's task force. It wasn't a product of the chamber. And so I'm just saying, this is the messaging that's going out. And it's you know, we all worked hard on that. It wasn't meant to attract people here. It wasn't meant to, when it was done, it was meant to have people, you know, feel love and comfort during a really bad time. It was purposeful. There was a messaging, because there's other videos coming behind
But something that I posted on my own personal should not be something that our board should be commented on. I'm a resident of this area, and if I want to post something about how I feel dollars was spent and I didn't like how it was spent, as a citizen, I should be able to post it on my own page. No taglines, no sharing of anything else that has to do with the incubator. So I feel that comment's a little unwarranted because that's towards me personally, and I would love to have further conversation with you, but that shouldn't be something the incubator should pay a price for because I, as a citizen, gave my opinion.
Well, I don't want to drag it on, but I will say I'm a citizen of Dunedin too, but if I post something like that, I'm going to get total hell because of my job. I mean, it is interrelated when people see both of you as the head. And I'm only giving this as an example, not to be difficult. I'm just trying to show that there is very clear public tension, very clear. It's not just stuff we've heard behind the scenes. Now it's on social media. So it's just really concerning. And I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but the $35,000 that we give the FBI, which I can't tell you, I know each and every one of us want it to be a success, or we wouldn't have gone down this road to begin with, is more money than we give any other business organization in the city. It is. It's more money annually. And so that's what's upsetting when there is tension. And so I really just want to see that fixed. I'd like, if you're going to come back with the data and come back with the budget that we talked about, and just a plan of how you will work, because our recovery task force is now going to turn into an alliance. And there's a seat at the table for every business organization. And it's where we're all pooling our money to, support our community, mostly in marketing and social media efforts, but it could be other things. It's a growing thing that we felt came out of the recovery task force.
Something we can give Chamber and the DDMA some scholarships for some of their businesses.
Sure.
So, maybe a plan on how we're going to make all of this work, because that's really how we started. It was supposed to be another tool for our business community that maybe wasn't being covered in other ways. So we really, really want everybody to work well together. And, we're going to have to figure out what our funding is going to be, because I'm not exactly sure that we know this year what it can be. And, we may need some metrics to be met. I think the idea, Bob, of looking at the county, is, and speaking with them, I know they have given money for office space actually to St. Pete. I want to say they helped on some $4 million project a couple of years back. I don't remember, pre-pandemic.
Can I ask?
And
Yeah.
I would like to say, even if, for funding reasons, if the city, because I know that we already are so committed on so many other projects, it's not going to change how we work or stay in Dunedin. Because obviously, funding is going to be a little bit tighter this year, completely understood. But I just wanted to reassure you all, depending on what our funding is, if anything, from the city, we still plan to have our headquarters and fully be here because of everything that the city has done for the incubator.
This is a direct riff off you. I'm just curious, how much, because you've done sort of a plan, so how much do you believe a rental cost? What's that? How much would that be?
So monthly, we have been figuring out it's going to be about $3,500 for the 3,000 square foot space that we were looking at.
3,000 square foot?
Yep. And this was something that I had worked off of MLK with Patty Buell, because we were looking at half of her building she was going to lease out, and it's right there next to the Coca-Cola plant. Unfortunately, though, the way the structure of it is too open for people to have private conversations for businesses.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to be clear in my mind on
Yeah, and that's just rent. Overall, it'll probably be about, I think it was like $6,700 between all the utilities and, starting up.
So it's about 6,700, including
Yeah,
utilities.
But right now, we've been raising enough money to cover the overhead of those. Just it's actually the renting of a location or having a location to rent from is the more the difficulty part.
Okay.
All right, so I think in consensus, what I've heard people wanted to see was, a budget and a detailed budget on where the $35,000 is going today. Data showing the number of businesses incubated, as well as folks attending various events and that kind of thing, and then just a plan on how to work together with the other business organizations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Anything else?
No, just Bob, touching base
And
with
Bob
economic
working,
development.
talk to the county and,
Yeah, talk with the
Yeah.
county.
And they do have an ask tonight.
yeah, another ask.
Yeah, something that's kind of near and dear to my heart is tracking racial equities and gender businesses in town. Within the FBI, I don't know if there's an application process, or is there a way for you guys to identify women-owned businesses or people of color or et cetera,
Yep, that is part of the membership, and we're actually working with some coalitions in St. Pete for having diverse business owners, because right now the state is giving them extra funding. So we're trying to get some of those business owners to come up here rather than practice their business in an area that they feel more comfortable, to bring some more diversity into the area.
Fantastic. And also within that process, and I don't know how you determine this, but when a business is a business, and is there a way for us to identify if they're acknowledging that they're a business in Dunedin, that they're actually permitted?
So yeah, that's one of the things that we're working with them, that we have is a tool to show them where and how to register their business with the city of Dunedin. So we're trying to reinforce that. So, I mean, because also that's little funds that comes back into the city. But that way we have a better accurate idea of who's practicing business here. We also do now require businesses that are not, that are established or have some kind of website or presence, their financials, their business plan, and where they're planning their goals. So that way, before they even join us, we have an idea of what is capable of their progression through their business ownership.
Yeah, if I might add, I know George Kennedy, of course, is not here, but the current software doesn't have that ability to track with what we call BTR, business tax receipt. But I think we're looking to get new software here in the near future that will be able to do that, and then we have that information that we can share with all organizations, and that would give us a better tracking mechanism.
And right now, we're doing weekly checks on some biz of what businesses have opened with a zip code of ours.
Anything else? No? No? Jennifer, anything? No?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment too. I heard some things that have been set up here. And I would certainly like to get a little bit more involved in trying to help with those situations. I'm trying to be very vague right now, but I think that's important. I think we need to do that as sort of as quickly as possible, and I think I'm trusting that can be doable.
Absolutely.
And I think Bob would. I'm not trying to direct Bob here, though. I'm just making sure he's listening.
Oh, yeah. I'm writing things down.
That we all try to help with that, since we are, after all, Dunedin.
Was this actually sort of a reference to we can work it out?
Yes. We can all be together.
The Beatles.
Anything else, Bob?
No, that was it. It's been
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you so
the
much for your time. Have a
presentation.
wonderful
Really
day.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Kynes, for the Beatles.
Okay, we'll move on to informational items. Commission discussion items. Anybody have anything? You guys? No?
I don't think so.
No?
I have some good information.
Good information? Go ahead.
Well, I'll certainly let Nikki speak, or Jennifer, but it looks like, which is wonderful, that the salvage companies have brought the materials back to the Kellogg Mansion. And I do want to say over and over that Blair and Vinnie have said, Blair has said many times that Krista Carpenter and Dr. Wink have been really extraordinary to work with. So that is really wonderful, and they will even continue to work with them on other options before it is demolished. So that's really wonderful, and I know that there was a suit for replevin, which has now been dropped because they voluntarily returned the artifacts. That correct?
That's my understanding.
That's my understanding. So, that's really wonderful. I'm so happy because those funds, all auction funds and whatever else they may work, goes directly to the History Museum, all those funds. And also, as a footnote, we will continue to work on, the 3D immersive, because, and the more I thought about it, I'm so happy that worked out so well. But, after you have the auction, and eventually that house is demolished, then what do you have, unless you have a really great 3D immersive? because that's the way you capture the whole experience and make it a prototype for other small museums that have not had this capability. And the History Museum in the city of Dunedin, it could be another first. So I'm continuing to work hard on that, and all of us have, and I hope that, you all will really think about it. It's been quite the ride, but again, I think it's just a really wonderful place that we have landed at with Krista and Nikki and Blair and Jennifer's efforts to help to get back all the artifacts and continue that auction for the History Museum.
Can I just comment on that? First of all, Deborah, thank you so much for all you've done for it, because you've worked so hard. I just wanted to share that I was, in the right place at the right time, doing my walk and past the Kellogg Mansion, and Blair was there from the Historical Museum, and I got to walk through it. Pretty amazing, pretty cool. Well, I wouldn't want to be there in the middle of the night, going through all the nooks and crannies in that place. But shout out to Krista got there when I was just before I left, and she had her friend Farah there, who I guess used to work for FDLE, and she had apparently early on photographed everything, like every nuance of that place, which is I'm sure why they can know that they got everything back. And but I will just the shout out to Krista and Farah, who they were on it. I mean, they were totally on it. And I think that's the key, that they had all the pictures, they could see what was attached to the walls. So anyway, yeah, it really worked out well. And again, thank you for all your hard work on it.
I really have to say thank you to the attorneys and Jennifer that really
Nikki and Jennifer,
that, and all of you and Blair, and I really want to thank them.
Thank you, Nikki.
Mayor, I do have a discussion. I don't know if I can.
Are you done?
I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're done.
I'm done.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, everybody knows of my love affair with bicycling, and I try and promote it whenever I can. And I also attend a lot or most of the Forward Pinellas Bike Ped Advisory Committee.
Yeah, they need
meetings.
somebody to represent Dunedin.
To Dunedin.
I've been reaching out to people.
And
Nobody wants to do it.
they reached out to me just because I'm at the
Yeah, yeah.
meeting. So I don't know if it's appropriate that
Go ahead.
I can become a member. I don't know if that's a conflict.
You can't.
Because I can't what?
You can't be a member.
Okay, so I can't be a member.
Oh,
And so I'm just trying to figure out the best way Dunedin can be represented.
I don't think
Given
you can.
the activity and the numbers that we see on the trail, day in, day out, month in, month out, that Dunedin needs to be on there, but I just don't want a Dunedin resident. It needs to be connected so that we end up hearing that. And I know it funnels
yeah.
back through you as on Forward Pinellas, but I don't know if that's good enough.
I think we should post something on social media about the opening, that we want a bicycle person on there.
And then what would that bicycle, because
They would submit their application to Forward
And
Pinellas.
then what would they do with the knowledge and information that they get from that? So we still lost a
So-
disconnect.
It's a committee that reports on anything to do with bicycling
Right.
or, pedestrian issues. They report that then to the Forward Pinellas Board,
Right.
and then we act.
So as an entity, it's still coming through you. So we don't need to,
It's nothing we
Have-
would follow.
okay, so as far as the Dunedin residents, and we really don't care, we don't need for them to be on one of our advisory committees?
No.
They report back? Okay.
No, but we could, if you reach out to Tina, who is Witt's assistant, Tina.
Forward Pinellas.
At Forward Pinellas, Jablon, she'll get you the information for the bicycle committee. There's a number of openings, but they have the openings cordoned off to different municipalities, and ours has an opening, Dunedin has an opening.
Might have two.
I think we have two.
They added a position, so we have two positions.
Two
Sounds like
Dunedin?
Russ might have some knowledge of some bikers around.
Maybe,
So Russ might be a good person. I'll reach out to Russ.
yeah,
I just have a quick one.
sure.
I'll just do one. And I've been speaking with the city manager, and I know that has some information, I think, on this, but and she had equal concern. I just wanted the residents to know that we are concerned about what happened down in South Florida with the big building. And that is a county responsibility. We are concerned, all of us are concerned about our residents, and although we think that we think the information is coming back that it sounds like there's something in effect that will take care of this, but just let the residents know that we are all concerned about that, and the city manager has been looking into that, so.
So we, in the city of Dunedin, we have about 21 buildings that meet the property appraiser's definition of a mid-rise, and that's between 4 and 11 stories. That constitutes about 921 units, condo units type of thing. They were built between 1970 and 2016. So I think that the best approach to this is for the city managers to work with the county administrator as far as if there's any plans for a program in the future for Pinellas County, because it is, as the commissioner said, it is a county approach. And a lot of people think it's embedded in our building department. It's not. You get an individual structural engineer or architect to go through the building to submit a report. And then the city would essentially participate in terms of a permit would be issued for any improvements they need to make, and there's a certain time frame in which those improvements had to be made. That's how the program runs in Broward County and in Miami-Dade County as well. So to my knowledge, there is nothing afoot as far as the building industry goes right now in Pinellas County. But I think there's going to be further conversation, most certainly, because other parts of the county have older buildings than we do. And, we're mid-rise, they go high-rise. So, I think that's going to be a continuing conversation. We have had a lot of residents asking us about, this situation. So, and rest assured, these buildings within the city of Dunedin, we've been in them, we've been looking around. It's, as we inspect, do permit inspections and that type of a thing. But it's a continuing conversation, for sure.
It's interesting because pre-2004, and I'm not going to say the name of the building, but, it sounds like what happened, a little bit, and who knows what totally happened in Surfside. Obviously, a lot of debate within their condo board, waiving reserves, so they don't have total reserves, so they have weak reserves. And I saw it in one of the buildings in town pre-2004. And the hurricanes of 2004 kind of brought it to its crescendo because of damage they had, and they finally did something about it. The attorney finally said, look, it's not about voting anymore. You got to take care of your building. So it is real, and I'm not sure what the right role for government is, but it is real. And I know the state is looking at that whole issue. Hey, by vote, can you waive off your reserve requirements? Is that a responsible thing to do? And it's very sad, when it gets to quibbling. And it's interesting because I think some of the issues that happened in this other place was the assessments were so huge. You had people that bought at a much lower rate, that maybe a single person who's 75 years old now, and literally they wouldn't be able to afford the assessment. They'd have to remortgage. So you get into a lot of stuff, but you see the dire results of not being able to deal with, hey, it's not a sound building anymore. So I'm not sure all the rules at state and local level, but I'm very happy that we're digging in. I continue to. I just got another one yesterday of like, what are you guys doing? Have you talked about it? And I referred to you talking to the city manager. So, John, I'm really glad you brought it up. So it stays on our horizon.
Well, one thing, and I had a very interesting conversation with Joey DePasqua, and he is our chief building official in the city of Dunedin, and just about the building in Surfside itself. His take on that is interesting as far as what occurred. And he feels that it could be a statewide effort as well. Obviously, the governor was very engaged in Surfside, and there could be some legislation coming down from the state government as well.
Do you think that would be on how many years before you need to have a total reassessment? If it was 40?
Yeah, Miami-Dade and Broward is 40. Broward requires a recertification every 10 years thereafter, and that's what I remembered when I was working in Broward County. So those programs are already in place. But one of the interesting things is that Miami-Dade has, they have 3,000 employees, so there has to be the staff that's able to administer this program, because it's a program in and of itself. It's not, and separate from the building permit process, you know, entirely separate. So there are all sorts of questions that need to be answered as far as who populates the program, who runs the program, and on and on. So, you know, I think that we need to stay tuned, and I will certainly participate with your permission in any of those discussions as well.
Absolutely.
And, you know, part of it too is trying to keep, to the extent possible, keep most of the actual pressure off the government, but on the board itself. You know, you are still accountable for your own structural safety, and you know, regardless of how many people don't live there, that own or whatever, there's got to be some things in place, because again, you don't want it to be a total shift to government responsibility versus, it's still, I mean, you live there, this is your board, this is your building, and we're just kind of the overseer, I guess, of whatever the requirements. But it'll be interesting to see from the state and local what we figure out.
Right, yes.
Okay, thank you. City clerk update.
Nothing today, Mayor, thank you.
All righty. City manager update.
I do have a few things for you, Mayor and Commissioners. The Golf Club Sustainability Study is complete in draft form. It is, I just want to give you a timeline of when it is going out to the public. The draft study will go to the City Commission, the Dunedin Golf Club Board of Directors, and the Board of Finance tomorrow. So the report itself has a 17-page executive summary, which is a really good overview of what's contained. The report itself is about 174 pages. And Vince and I went back and forth about whether or not we needed to supply the entire report, and I feel that we do, to everybody. I don't want anybody to think that there's any part of that report that we're not reporting on. The Golf Club Board of Directors presentation then, Vice Mayor, will be Wednesday, July 21st at 1:30 p.m. at the Golf Club, and I'll be there as well. The Board of Finance presentation will be Wednesday, July 21st at 3:30, and that will be in the Water Plant Conference Room. And then the City Commission workshop for the sustainability study and all of the input that we get from these various boards and committees would be Tuesday, August 31st of 2021.
August 31st?
August 31st, yes, of 2021. I just wanted to give you a kind of a debrief on tropical storm / hurricane /
Before you leave that,
tropical.
so are you saying we'll get a copy as well?
Yes, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
But our hearing will be the 31st.
The 31st, yes. We wanted the five of you, obviously, to have the report when it was in everybody else's hands in case there are any questions.
Okay, okay, got it.
Yeah. Just a kind of debrief on Tropical Storm Elsa / Hurricane Elsa / Tropical Storm Elsa, and then whatever else happened with Elsa, but.
Big Elsa.
Yeah, big little Elsa. As I've shared with all of you, I think at this point, it was a really good opportunity for us to shake the bugs out of our brand-new EOC. It performed well with a few exceptions. We only had 12 people in the EOC overnight, and if it's a category 3 to 5 and we're fully activated, we're going to have a lot more in the EOC. So there's some things we have to figure out in those terms. I do want to thank the fire department. Obviously, to stand up an EOC, a brand new EOC, with a storm coming is logistically quite difficult, and they did a super job with an assist from IT as well to get everything up and running. And then communications. Sue gave me a kind of a description of our metrics and how engaged our public was during the course of that event in our social media. It was great. It was really good. They were very engaged. We were getting the message out there. And I think that we have that system down pat at this point. We reported minimal damage as a result of that storm, which is good, knock on wood. And we rescinded our state of emergency, I think, 2 days after the storm as well. And there's no further action required from the City Commission as far as Tropical Storm Elsa goes. And then finally, I just want you to know that the next couple of weeks for me are going to be very busy. I'm starting my employee communications, and I will go to their facilities. For the most part, some people are coming here, and just to talk about some of the larger issues that are facing the city, talk about the budget and adoption of the budget, and the Commission's activities to that end. I think that's over 20, I think it's about 25 meetings between now and the middle part of August. So I wasn't able to do that last year in person. We did it via Zoom, which was obviously not as effective. So I'm glad to be able to go out to talk to the employees and really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Does that mean we can't call you for the next 2 weeks?
That's right, that's what I mean, yeah.
I think that was directed.
For clarifying what I
I
heard.
think you all have my cell phone number, I've discovered. So, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for the city manager? Jennifer, I had one quick thing, just, I hadn't seen anything about it, so, a few weeks back, maybe it was almost a month ago, I can't remember now, Sterling Scotland Museum reached out to us.
Mm-hmm.
And, Lael's not here, or Lael isn't here anymore.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that maybe Elizabeth or somebody was reaching out.
Okay, I will make sure.
I hadn't seen any response, and it just
Right.
crossed my mind today because of the art thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm sorry, I hadn't had it on my ongoing list.
Right. Okay.
So Sterling Museum in Scotland wants to do an exchange of stuff.
With the Fine Arts Center? That's fabulous.
Which is what we wanted when we were
Right.
over there. Yeah.
But
That's
that's COVID,
fabulous.
yeah, it just wasn't moving anywhere, but now she's in a place where she can do that, and so she's.
That's great.
Yeah.
When I have no Lil, but anyway.
I know.
You
Well, I
gotta
was
get-
thinking maybe Elizabeth could reach out to her.
You got to get a layout.
Yeah, are you close to that?
Yes.
Did you say you were? Okay.
Okay, city attorney update? Anything?
Commissioner Kynes took my positive update, but I told her she could. You all may or may not have made it through the volume of legislative updates that we sent out, just to
Yes.
give you an idea. They're usually not that voluminous. Usually you have about 50 or so bills that affect cities, about 10 to 15 that are summarized. This past session, there was over 100 affecting cities. There were over 50 that were summarized just for Dunedin. So just to give you an idea, when people talk about it being an active legislative session, it's been one of the not just one of the most active in terms of number of bills in recent history, but one of the most active in terms of bills that affect local governments throughout the state. So that's why there were so many. I apologize mostly to George. I don't usually send out a 20-page memo to anyone ever, but that's how extensive it was with regard to matters affecting community development. And I know since all of you are a very engaged commission, that's why I sent you copies of all the memos that went out to staff.
And I'm sure we all have a bunch of questions, so is there a point where we're going to be able to talk about some of these things? Or somebody, or Jennifer, or somebody is going to tell us how we're going to deal with some of the required changes? Because some of them were pretty big, I thought.
We're working with staff on some of their specific questions, particularly primarily focusing on whether or not anything needs to change in the city's existing codes that it's applying, particularly with regard to home-based occupancy. That analysis is going to George on Friday, and a few others. So those things will come up to you in that context. I don't know whether the city manager planned on bringing any other kind of
Well, let me just ask this
updates.
question. I'm not trying to put more work on you, I'm trying to alleviate her.
No, I understand.
I'm all for
If
that.
if you're working with a department and they're looking to change things because it's required, right? I mean, are you able to just, under city attorney update, just tell us that those things are coming so that we know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
that's fine.
Because if we're waiting for a long, I don't want to, I'll forget about all this stuff. And that was a lot. I read every single one of those things. And it was a lot to read. And I should have taken a lot of notes. I did take screenshots of things I thought
I mean, some of it, it's like, okay, you can't adopt a campaign contribution ordinance. So if that came up, we would say, oh, no, remember this memo? You mean, so some of it's perspective, but
None of that I care
no,
about.
change,
It's the-
existing changes to the code, or if there's any changes to this, I would have to get with, Jennifer, on if there's any changes to the administrative procedures of the city that I'm not, but I can't, but certainly I can let you, I mean, I just don't know whether or not your home occupancy regulations are sufficient or need to be updated, so we're looking at that. I don't anticipate anything about the gas because you all hadn't adopted any requirement for
There was something with
electronic
stormwater.
fueling.
There was something with we had to have an immediate 5-year, we had to, like in 8 months or something, we have to have a 5-year thing and.
Right, and
like-
Russell has already begun, working on that, so we can, we can definitely,
It's the bigger things. I don't
report
care
on
about
the big
things
ones.
We
that-
can
Yeah.
actually just put together a quick matrix.
And
that
maybe
we can
that
go
would
over
be
with
it.
things. So
I
sure, I'm gonna do
mean,
that with
I'm
staff.
not, again, I know you don't have Lael, who would have done this for you. And so I'm not trying to drive you crazy, but I also want to make sure that we're really educate, especially as we're going to the various conferences. When I go to the mayor's council, people talk about this stuff. You know, it's kind of like I like to know what we're doing, even if it hasn't come yet, or yeah, we're going to address that, or yeah, we have to address it, whereas another city might not have to. You know, just that kind of thing. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I think some of the major things, maybe they should be workshopped, because, you know, here's my theory. As they get more into our business, we get the blame.
Right.
Okay? We get the blame. What are you doing? What are you doing in our neighborhood? Why are you doing this?
And how come you didn't protect the tree?
Right, and you're right, exactly. And I just think that it's a way to educate and make sure that our citizenry understand, because my theory is, at some point, if they get too much into our business, the explosion's gonna have to go up there, and I don't want it to come here. And, because we represent the people, and I think that there's some things that they talk about up there that get really close to the edge of what our neighborhoods value, and is very important to them. And at some point, you know, we need to make sure they understand that we're not in the driver's seat on some of that stuff. So home-based businesses is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a lot to do about nothing. Maybe it's, you know, but I think it's important for us to pick out the big things that are having an impact and actually could change the tenor of our neighborhoods, which is, so.
And even if it's a matrix, like you know, a spreadsheet that just says, we're
Right.
reviewing.
Right, or
You know,
change, yeah, or no present changes
reviewing and, you know,
identified.
this is,
No need to change whatever.
you know, I mean, we don't have to have all the answers. I just think it just helps us have a pocket guide. But again, I don't want you to have to go crazy about it.
We can put something together. I mean, yeah, I mean.
Again, you just got done telling us how busy you're going to be in the next 2 weeks, and that's simply by going and talking to your own
You just
employees.
need to get that
you know?
hire done, that's all.
Unless I'm delegating to Paul Stanek. Thank God he's not here.
No, Paul, I know, and I didn't mean to call Paul out.
Hey,
earlier.
he's
I'm like, Paul's
the
already-
last man standing, so he gets
Paul's
the
already
job.
emailed me about the 5-year plan.
I know.
All the employees
I looked at that and I was
working on
like,
it. We're
in
like-
8 months, they want you to do a 5-year plan. Hell, it takes 3 months to put together the RFP and get an answer back. So then you have what, 5 months to 4 months and then get it approved? Yeah, sure. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
I should have let you do the positive. I feel bad now because
Thank you, Attorney
then
Day.
you got stuck with the home-based businesses.
It's every year. It's every year. You guys are lucky, you already have design review regs.
Oh, I know.
Now that's preempted.
I know.
Oh.
Thank you, Jesus.
Unless you have an architectural review board or design review board or existing design regs, cannot regulate based on design in Florida.
And thank you, Jesus. We've
You
got
guys
did
are
that.
within the exception.
Does that mean we can't make any further changes?
No, not necessarily.
Well, we should probably think twice about it, just
But
saying.
you know what, that's the kind of thing that our community needs to understand, that we have a state that's trying to get into the business that we're doing that stuff because our
Based on what
citizens
they've asked us
demand
to
it.
do.
And so that's the kind of stuff we need to make sure they
Based on the
understand.
comprehensive plan that they made you do 30 years ago? Exactly.
So I just think, you know, there has to be some discussion publicly so that we're pushing the word out.
And we will. Okay.
I'm glad you brought it up, though.
Commission comments? Vice Mayor, anything from your liaison positions?
No, thank you.
Anything else? Anything from your liaison?
My only
positions?
comment is, man, we started out the meeting with that recreation and parks thing, and it just like, I don't know, it just hits my heart because, you know, let's face it, I mean, thank God for good water and sewer and sanitation, so we can focus on the things that make our quality of life so great, but we have an amazing rec and parks staff.
Yeah.
We have great programs, we're always known for that. We have raised so many kids, it's a wonderful thing, and I just wanted to reiterate how much we thank them. And that was beautiful, the mother that came up. I mean, that just says that, you know, you got a special needs child, and we've got people that care, and that's what Dunedin's always had, people that care, good programs. It's a great thing. Dunedin is our happy place.
Can I
mean,
add to that a little bit?
Absolutely,
That,
I'm good now.
You know, and yes, kudos to all our people and our programs. But you know, that CIT program, there is nothing better than that thing, I gotta tell you. Because they get leadership classes and they, you know, they've made it pretty substantial. But, you know, kids kind of stop going to summer camp, 5th or 6th grade, you know, when they're like 12. They're done. They're like, yeah, no, I'm hanging at home and sleeping in until noon. And it's right around that time. I can't remember what the age is.
Probably 12, middle school.
But that you can start to be a CIT.
Probably get a text any second that'll tell us now, for Peg.
So, you know, you can then become a CIT, which you're not in summer camp, you're hoping to then lead summer camp. And so, as a parent, I mean, I couldn't believe that my kid would get up and be somewhere at 8:30 in the morning during the summer and do it without being, like, I didn't have to go do it. You know, he would ride his bike or take his skateboard. And he just loved it, absolutely loved it. He's made lifelong friends of CITs, you know, and where he's gone. And so I don't know. And it sort of led him to where he was going in his field of choice. And now he's a counselor, you know, camp counselor. And so our former mayor, Bob Hackworth, did the same exact thing. And he's a lot older than me, just saying. And Thomas, just in case you're listening, Bob. You know, there's so many people that have been through that program. And so just
I love the
older teaching the younger, who is teaching the next younger.
And I love the fact that we're gathering stories. I think it's going to be interesting, the stories that we get. I mean, even the artist, when he brought up like the fact that he takes his art classes out to the hammock, which I did not know about your dad. That's amazing. And yeah, it's cool. It just reminds us what a really special place we live in. So. And our staff is our backbone. Our staff is our backbone.
You know, now, Thomas, when we go to festivals or going somewhere, like when we went to the 4th of July, 3rd of July event, he got said hello to more by parents and kids than I did.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
I was like, okay. And he used to complain about that with me. We stood around waiting for him like 4 times, honest to God. But I thought that was such a great thing. Anyway.
That's great.
Commission comments?
I love the CIT program too. When can you enroll them? I got one that we need to get her started early. Lucy.
It's not a corrective program, though.
Yeah, well, although it could be.
Little Lucy might need
Yes.
with a blindfold over her eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You certainly weren't thinking of putting Alan in there.
No.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Well, all ages, remember.
Any liaison reports or?
No, I think I was
You
really
gave it.
lucky to give that, and I should say that, they're full swing with Sizzling Summer, the DFAC, and they are still in
Thomas
mask,
loved that program too.
and masks are required. I mean, they're just, because, the age of the kids, whatever they end up doing with, whether it's 12 and under, eventually does get vaccinated or whatever, it's such a broad range of kids that they've still been really strict with their mask and temperature, and they also did very well on their garden party, which was sort of a hybrid. So that's my report.
Very good. Any liaison reports or
thank you.
anything?
Thank you.
Okay, I don't think I have anything either. I think I talked a lot about the things that were up and coming at our budget thing last week, so nothing has really changed from there. All right, anything else for the good of the order? 15 minutes early, baby. All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you for watching this City of Dunedin government meeting. If you'd like to review any part of this meeting or watch any previous government meeting coverage, you can watch these meetings online anytime through the city's website, dunedingov.com. Stay connected with everything Dunedin. Follow the city on this channel and on the city's Facebook page, through Twitter, and on the city's YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching this Dunedin television production.